and or watching to the Black Eagles podcast, a Beşiktaş talk show.
İşaret geldi. Ricardo Quaresma! Ricardo Quaresma! Ricardo Quaresma! İyi nokta. Kafalar! Quaresma ortayı yaptı. Sekti. Gol! Gol! Gol! Gol! Gol! Gol! Maç boyunca durdu, şimdi attı. Abu Bakar attı. Abu Bakar.
Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. And this is the final time this season that you will be seeing our wonderful design here on the Europa League, because Beşiktaş are out of Europe. You probably already know, because you probably sat through those horrendous 90 minutes away in Enschede at Twente, but Beşiktaş have lost away to Twente 1-0 after a match that really was just a huge disappointment for us Beşiktaş fans, and we therefore strand on 9 points. Let's have a look at that. 9 points, and we are out of the top 24. We started match day 8 on the 24th spot, and we needed at least a win, judging by the results in the other matches. We needed a win. A draw could have been enough if results in other matches had gone our way, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. But a win was never really on the books, guys. It was all Twente. Let me introduce my co-hosts first before we start. My name is Kaan Bayazit. As always, I am one of 3 co-hosts on this show. I am joined by my long-term friend from New York City, New York, Mr. Sinan Schwarding. As you can see,
hello,
wearing
everyone.
A basketball shirt out of protest.
Staging a protest. That's right, it's a protest day.
We're becoming like the Fenerbahce fans. We're becoming only basketball fans going forward.
Yeah, exactly. Or like handball. I'm a huge volleyball fan now. No, I have my jersey here. I'll switch into it in a moment. I'm just
it's fine. The basketball shirt looks great on you. And then
making a stink.
From Glasgow, Scotland, we have our Eagle boy, Kartal Oer. Kartal, how are you feeling today, sir?
I mean, overall, it's been a decent day for myself, man. Just watching Lost with my wife. Very good show. If you haven't watched it, you should. But obviously, last night was a huge disappointment. It was a bit annoying after it, but at this point, I think I'm just quite numb to the disappointment. So, quick. A few months, like when this collapse first started, I was really upset about it, but now I've kind of got used to it. But yeah, we deserved to lose, man. It was a terrible performance. Like Twente thoroughly beat us. We were very fortunate. There was 1-0.
Yeah, 1-0 is flattering to us, I think. Twente could have won this match probably 3-0 easily. They had a massive chance in the first half. I couldn't believe it didn't go in.
The header, yeah.
The header from
just hit that like, straight and not towards the ground. It's a goal.
Yeah.
And the fact that like it's a miracle basically how he headed it so hard that it bounced so hard off the ground it went over the bar.
Yeah, it was incredible. I thought it was in. The crowd thought it was in. I think everyone thought it was in.
I mean, not that it goes against anything that either of you have said thus far, but Al-Musrati's miss, which deflected off a defender and then went just one hair over the post,
that was
pretty excruciating.
Was that at 0-0 or was that at 1-0? I forget.
0-0. It was 0-0,
right?
I think.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah. I think it was still 0-0. Yeah, because that was their goal in like the 70th minute or thereabouts. Like
I think like 79th or something. It was really late.
Yeah,
it was,
exactly.
Quite late goal. Maybe Kartal has it up. I'm gonna try to fix the chat, by the way, because the colors are all
Yeah, I was gonna say it. The colors look a little fancy. or something. But no,
I think we have to give a little bit of credit though to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because I felt going into this match that everyone was talking about the next round, and everyone was talking about we have to beat Twente, we have to beat them, and all this and that, like as if beating Twente away was a given. I see all of that in the group chat as well. People saying I can't believe we couldn't beat Twente, and I said this
comparing it to like Maccabi Tel Aviv and stuff.
It is, like Twente is somebody that have a very solid home reputation in the Netherlands. They are one of those matches that the big teams really don't want to go to. Imagine Eskişehirspor when they were still in the Super League and were good.
Or like Bursaspor or something.
Bursa, Adana Demir when they weren't broke. Those types of away matches where you really didn't look forward to them. And that's what this game was. And I think the big disappointment for us isn't so much the fact that we lost, it's more so the way in which we lost, the fact that we were thoroughly beaten, like Kartal said. We didn't deserve it, although, as you just pointed out, Sinan, we did have at least one big chance. And then we also had the shot from Masuaku in the first half and the free kick right at the end. But let's be honest, that free kick would have only spoiled the party for Twente. So I'm almost happy it didn't go in, because I think they deserved to go through. They played a very good campaign. Only 7 points up until this match, but I think they only lost 2 matches and they drew almost everything else or something like that. So they were a little bit unlucky in their previous games. Then they got lucky last week against Malmo with 2 cheap penalties. I have to point that out. But all in all, I think they thoroughly deserved it yesterday. And it would have been a shame if that win was for nothing. Or if we would have, gotten a draw right at the end that would, for us, mean absolutely nothing. It would have been kind of a shame to ruin their party in a way, I think.
I mean, I guess you could say we definitely would have felt bad if we had knocked them out of the tournament at our expense, just to be one spot shy of moving into the next round anyway. Especially, given that they were such a... I mean, I'm trying to use the right word here, but really, I mean, they were the dominant side, really, right?
They were, yeah. 100%.
You can't really argue anything other.
No.
Sure, we had the 2, the almost right chance, and of course the Masuaku free kick, which was well saved.
The Immobile header was actually a good chance, I thought, for us.
And the Immobile header. Oh, yeah, that's true. But like, what's crazy is, so I think we may have even had more shots on target than them at the end of the match, but they had something. It was one of those games where they had like 20 shots in total, and then like maybe 3 on target.
Yeah. At halftime, they were at 12 shots, and we were on 3 shots at halftime.
Yeah.
So it was I don't know. If you want, we can have a look actually at the. Maybe we should have a look at the lineup first.
Yeah, let's do the lineup and the whole
check out the lineup.
Spiel. I guess I don't know whatever that language is. Yeah. So let's, I suppose, first of all, dig into our opponents' lineup as we tend to do. In their goal, they had the German 34-year-old Lars Unerstahl. We didn't really test him much. Obviously, he did have that huge save on Masuaku's free kick, which was pretty solid.
And also on the shot, Masuaku, he made a good save in the first half.
Oh, yeah, from the left. Yeah, that wasn't bad either. It's funny, now that we think about it, we had a few decent chances. Masuaku, by the way, had it. I made a joke that Masuaku must have been one of those Man U fanboys. They have a lot of like African Man United fanboys from that era. Yeah. He must have just like the arrival of Solskjaer has like been revitalizing for him exclusively thus far.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair.
Well, I guess Rashica was playing really well until yesterday.
I thought that Rashica barely played though. He played that one game against Athletic, right? Did he play against Antalya?
Yeah. I don't recall, actually, now you mention it. But yeah, he was great against Athletic, is basically what I meant. And then terrible yesterday.
He was good against Athletic, but even in that match, I felt like...
you could see his... Yeah. When you know his deficiencies, and then you think about that performance, they were actually kind of on display. Anyway, central back for them, an interesting pairing. First of all, 22-year-old Dutch Max Bruns, who played next to 24-year-old Swede Gustav Lagerbilk. But two fairly young central defenders, so it just goes to show you could be a pretty solid team without, bringing in like a 34-year-old. How old is Paulista? 35?
35, yeah.
35, you're right. You could still kind of do some projects back there and have a solid back line if you wanted to. And I mean, it's not like we didn't. Like Udokai and Emirhan weren't a bad back two.
I think it was Svensson that fucked us yesterday, to be honest.
I know. I didn't want to say it, but it's true. He was terrible.
Yeah, I think he was playing. I do think he was playing injured though.
You hope so. Yeah, you hope so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, see if he's hot, don't play him, man, because it probably just going to. I know Honor isn't good, but could they have been much Svensson was yesterday?
Yeah, but I think I still prefer an injured.
Svensson over an honorable. Yeah.
That's still. I mean, arguably that kind of cost us a game because I think Svenson's passing out the back was terrible, and it was his pass that bad pass to their goal.
Yeah.
I just remembered Yusuf's famous, like, would you rather have a giant tongue or a giant ball sack thing when you guys were talking about Inter Svensson or Honorable. Yeah. Anyway, right back, 23-year-old Dutchman. If you're out there, Yusuf, how you doing? Bart van Rooij. So again, very young. So they're not. And on the left side, also Dutch, although parents probably immigrants or something. But yeah, 23-year-old Dutch left back, Anas Salah Eddin. Who was quite good, actually. I'll give him credit for that. He was really solid against us, tearing down the left side of the pitch all day.
I didn't think he was that good, honestly.
Well, I mean, he was on that side that like Rashica and Svensson just.
He gave an interview.
Matador defense,
saying that he would love to play for Beşiktaş, something like that. And I just thought to myself, oh, there we go again. A guy plays a half decent game against us, and we're ready to sign him.
I thought he was very good yesterday, but I don't know if I scouted him.
Did he stand out to you in any positive way?
Who's this?
Salah
their left back, Salah Eddin.
To be honest, I thought, he was good, because every time he got the ball, when the commentator said Salah, I was thinking of Mohamed Salah. So he did seem pretty good. And was there not rumours of someone saying that he wanted to come to us? But,
yeah, Kartal interviewed him after the game, apparently, and he said something like, if Beşiktaş made me an offer, I would be very interested, or something like that.
Apparently,
I mean, he's 23.
One of the Dutch boys in another group chat, Osman, said that was bullshit, and he was actually talking about PSV.
Whoops.
Well, wouldn't surprise me if Kartal got it wrong.
Shall I continue, guys?
Yeah.
The back of their midfield. Boy, they're a relatively young side. 27-year-old Dutchman, Michel Vlap, played in the back of their midfield next to a Czech 25-year-old, Michal Sadilek. Mikal, maybe? I don't know, Czech. And right above them, 23-year-old Sem Stein, who was also pretty solid, I must say. Again, a Dutchman.
Yeah, he's their star player. He's got like 20 goals already this season.
Oh yeah, that would explain it. I didn't get to watch your preview of the match.
I'm pretty sure.
Say again, Carter?
I'm pretty sure before the election there was news saying that one of the
there was news of that, but there's like impossible. He's like a 20+ million player, man. Like there's no chance in hell.
I mean, I like that we're talking about a bunch of 23-year-olds now, but anyway, not like we're gonna get any of them since like a week left. Anyway, right wing Dutch, also 23, also Daan Rots. Boy, they had a real golden generation or something. They have a bunch of 23-year-old Dutch players. Then opposite him, 24-year-old Tunisian Saifallah Latif, who I don't really recall seeing much of, to be honest. And then, of course, at the top was their striker, 36-year-old Ricky van Wolfswinkel, who missed that header famously into the ground and then up over the post, which was, again, sort of harder to miss than to make somehow. But he did. And then opposite them was, of course, Beşiktaş, who we're here for, theoretically. And, in goal, Mert Gunok, who was behind, of course, Felix Udokai and Emirhan Topçu, who I think we'd all agree were relatively solid despite losing. You know, I mean, we only allowed one goal.
Was a little panicky. He didn't really know.
Yeah, he was, especially early on in the match.
He didn't know how to handle the pressure.
Kind of freaking out.
Well, you know, the pressure on the ball, I mean, but he wasn't the only one, of course. Like, essentially, none of our players at the back knew what to do with the ball. I think Udokai was the only one who had a little bit of bravado and tried some things, but it doesn't help when nobody is available to receive the ball. So.
Yeah. Anyway, right back, Jonas Svensson, who came off in the 81st minute. Opposite Arthur Masuaku. Al Musrati played next to Jedson Fernandes. And of course, Rafa Silva played in front of them. With Ernest Mucci on the left side, a very disappointing outing from our Albanian friend after what were a few decent ones up until this one. And then opposite him, of course, Milot Rashica, who also disappointed, to say the least. He's probably my low light of the match, if it's not Svensson. And then, of course, Immobile up top, who was injured. We should probably make note of. He came off in the 46th minute. Did he come off in the 46th minute, or was that halftime?
Halftime, yeah.
Halftime, right?
Yeah, it was another poor performance by him, just like it was poor by most of the players, to be honest.
Yeah. It was a bad day all around. Huh?
Players that.
I guess let's start off with who didn't play poorly. Who was not bad yesterday, guys?
Felix.
You can probably get off of the.
I'd say Felix. I think Felix wasn't poor. Let's see, is our chat working properly?
Yeah, I agree with you. Felix, maybe Mert. Mert was okay. Although he did let in there was a cross that came in at one point that he let drop, which was like pretty pathetic.
Yeah, Mert looked a little. Mert did well, but he looked a little. I don't know, panicky at times.
Yeah, it wasn't his. But he was okay.
At a certain point,
and I think Masuaku.
At a certain point, he makes like a really good save, but it's like. I almost felt like it was an accidental save. You know, when he comes out and he made himself really big. And I think the player legit...
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
The player like flinched, I think, because of it. And that's why he made the save. But... on
the left side.
I think...
He'd already made his move. So if the player was a bit more patient, they would have scored.
Yeah, exactly. I think that that was more on the player than it was on Mert doing well there. So, yeah.
I mean, obviously.
So that's it, right? Those are the three guys, right? It's Mert, Felix, and Masuaku, who weren't bad.
I thought Musrati was decent as well.
Yeah, I thought he was decent too, honestly.
Yeah, he was okay. Yeah, he made a few mistakes, but like heading it out for a corner instead of like clearing it, things like that.
But that was like there was a certain point actually. You know, I was doing a live commentary on the match. I didn't put it up on Patreon because it's just too depressing. But there's a certain point where Emirhan heads it, and he heads it straight into the middle, into the pack, and gives them a free shot on goal. And it's like one of the first things you learn as a defender is to head it away from goal. Never head it into the middle, never head it into the pack. I was so annoyed at that point. And I just knew already at that moment that this is not our night. Like it was too, it's clear early on it wasn't going to be our night.
Let's just say if you play this game 10 times, we don't win any of them.
No, I think you win it once, maybe. You know, you get like a Lyon game in there, maybe.
Yeah, but see,
or like maybe like Rafa Silva scores once. When one of those games he scores early and we just like hold, because like we held pretty well. You have to admit for much of this game, despite the fact that created nothing.
I think that was probably down to Twente though, the fact that we held on.
Well, I mean that Van Wolfswinkel miss was down to the football gods, if anything.
You see in the Lyon game we countered very well. There was none of that in this game.
Yeah, but that only started like in the second half, late in the second half though.
Didn't happen.
Let's look at the stats, guys. Let's just breeze past this.
We were fucking shit the full time.
Yeah, we were terrible.
But it doesn't help that after 60 minutes our best player needs to come off, and apparently he was injured going into the game.
And our best two if you consider. I mean, at least based on salary, right? Because Immobile was out, and then Rafa Silva was injured. So
no. Well, let's not say things like that because Chiro just hasn't been that good all season. But
well, that's why I said more like.
But
financially speaking,
yeah, but financially
is
irrelevant. It's about the performance on the pitch, and Rafa is usually the guy that's one of, if not the best guy on the pitch. But Ole said after the game that Rafa had, for a couple of days leading into the match, had some serious back issues, but that he really wanted to play this match. But that's why they subbed him in the 60th minute, and probably the tackle in the first minute from, I think it was Salahedin, that probably didn't help because
I think Rafa didn't look like himself the full game.
Yeah, but that's understandable if you're playing. You know, there was a certain moment I think in the first half where there was a break and he could have escaped, and normally you'd think he just blitzes past a player, and he was still fast, but it wasn't like Rafa usually, you know, like the impossible to catch him. Like, they were able to actually keep up a little bit and stop him. I think if Rafa is fit, he's gone there. And then you potentially have a countering opportunity. But, you know, when we don't have Rafa, this team is it even mid-table Super League? I don't know.
Guess we'll find out if he's hurt for a few games.
I think so.
Really, it shouldn't be, man. It's just the team we have it's not been built well at all, man. It's just not a balanced team, and I think you wrote a great tweet earlier today.
But that's not just on the previous board, because there's a lot left from like this is like a debacle from years, you know.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree, man. That's why I'm saying the tweet was good, because you mentioned it wasn't just the previous administration, but also the one before that, and I agree. Yeah. Over the last few years, this team's just been poorly constructed, and it's not suitable for the type of football you'd expect for a team like Beşiktaş. The funny thing is, like, even Şenol Güneş, who's known as an attacking coach, we basically play transition football with him as well.
Yeah.
And that's
I mean, guys,
we don't
coaches.
We don't have the personnel to dominate games, man. We don't.
9 coaches in a year and a half, right? Like, think of all the differing visions that have come in, you know, and how they've theoretically guided transfers, right? Like, we've tried to build 9 different squads. I mean, that's not true, because not each one of those managers got a transfer window, but you know what I'm saying? Like, each transfer window had a different sort of ethos in place at that time, and so yeah, of course, it's like trying to fit square pegs into round holes and stuff most of the time, right? Like, we haven't had a vision of how we're trying to play that's cohesive or at all thought out for the most part. So in a way, it's kind of like what should be happening, you know, because of all the disarray on the background. And it's why you hope that this is somehow going to be different this time around, right? That we can actually have some stability and some sort of a plan going forward. And that's why I think a lot of people who are like already throwing Solskjaer under the bus because of yesterday's performance, it's like, come on, man! Like,
oh, that's ridiculous.
You can't have it both ways, right? Like, you want stability. You're embarrassed by how we're playing. But you don't like any of the players we have because we've been trying to fit square pegs into round holes and all that shit. Sure, but so the only way to actually get out from underneath that is to like let someone do something with a unified vision for the next, I don't know, at least year or 6 months, or, you know, I don't know. Anyway,
I think see to be honest, man, see how, like, see if Paulista was fit, we'd probably have a lot less problems, man. I think, in a way. But unfortunately, if you look at Paulista's last few seasons, man, the 3 years before he came to us, he never played over 30 games. So that should have been a question mark in the previous board's head before they signed him. Like, can this guy play a full season for us? Can we rely on him?
Well, but Cartel, just to play devil's advocate, and it's not to defend this board or the last board, but even think about the one before with Bailly, right? Like, it seems like every window we bring in 2, right? Or Ghazal, or, I mean, you know, every window, even the ones that kind of pan out, you're kind of hoping that, like, they'll manage to stay healthy, or Nkudu. I mean, like, it seems like every, you know. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, and that doesn't even disagree with you. It's because you're right. You're absolutely right. The board changes, but the mentality stays the same. That's
And I think it's a mentality that's widespread in Turkey, unfortunately. It's not. It's a social thing in many ways. I don't think like it's going to change completely unless we get like good foreign ownership. It might improve in some ways, or we might be shocked. Who knows?
It doesn't help that that so far Serdar Adalı has just been the exact same as the previous board, almost, in the sense that there's a lot of things being said, promises being made, and absolutely none of that being kept.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that. Let's talk about
let's get these
bit.
stats. Let's get these stats out of the way, because I wanted to follow up on that point, but then it's like, wait a minute, we're just hiding behind these stats right now. All right. So, I mean, much to my surprise, although I guess no, I can't say it's like we were behind for that long. So we led in possession, 51% to 49. I guess maybe passing around the back or something, because it's not like we were creating any chances, which is on display when you look at our XG. Whoops.
Yeah, I'm fixing that.
Hold on, I'll call up the stats on FotMob while you do that.
Just seconds, you know.
Here we go. I got him. So yeah, the XG Twente was 2.21 to our 0.62, which is even flattering in a way. You might expect for it to have been worse. Total shots, they had 22 to our 8. Yeah, and just like I had said, we, however, somehow had more shots on target than they did, 3 to 2. They missed. Sorry, they had 2 big chances, however. We had 0. So despite having 3 shots on target, we had no big chances, which, yeah, I guess the Al-Musrati one was deflected. The Masuaku one was a free kick outside of the box. Yeah, all right. So they missed both of their big chances. So their only goal came on not one of their big chances. Accurate passes, interestingly, 377 to 376 in our favor. So we completed 1 more pass than they did. We completed our passes at an 80% rate to their 85%. So they were slightly more efficient. But still, like, more even than you'd expect. Although I guess it's just passes and possession. As you see, the XG, as far as actual chances created, they were far more effective. And I think that's also further evidenced by the fact that they had 11 corners to our 5. They only committed 10 fouls to our 12. They were also offsides 4 times to our 0, which also, again, points to the fact that even though possession and passing were equal, doesn't suggest at all that the match was equal. Cartel, how about them duels?
So the duels, 53 to 48 in their favour. They won 52% of them. Ground duels, 39 to 36 in their favour. 52% won for them as well. Aerial duels, they won 14 to 12. 54% of them won for them. Successful dribbles, we had 9, which was at 50%, so we tried 18. They had 4 successful dribbles, which was at a clip of 29%. So that makes you think they tried, about 13 dribbles. Yellow cards, 1 for them and 4 for us, and then there was no red cards in this game. So both teams had 11 men on the park for the full game.
Yep. Do you guys want to see about the comments? I'm still struggling to get them up, but maybe we can start reading them already. I don't know what's going on with them though.
Do we have comments? Let's see what we got.
There's just people saying hi. There's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So do you want to just end it here then, folks?
Yeah. See you later, folks. Hello and goodbye.
I'm trying to figure out why the chat
further
isn't
comments
working again. It's pretty annoying.
Yeah.
Anyway, just real quick shout outs to Jason, Edim, Gul, and Derdakaya, who have all said their hellos.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome everyone.
And yeah, welcome folks to today's group therapy session. Yeah. So what were we just talking about? Yeah, Cartel. I guess my only rebuttal to one thing you said earlier was as far as like the back room and we need foreigners. I think theoretically, if you had someone in there with a vision towards professionalizing the background, right, the back room, and bringing in good scouts and a sporting director and all this stuff, which has been promised to us, right? I think this is why we all got enamored by Hassan Arat. And this was like, for me anyway, the silver lining with Serdar Adalı was that, like, at least he was promising to kind of follow in that plan, bringing in people who know what they're talking about, right, to kind of run things in the background. And yet, I know it is Independence Day in Nauru, so, of course we would have to wait for tomorrow at the very least. But
I mean,
it's about time for us to get this non-sporting director in, I would say.
Allegedly, he's been in for a couple of weeks, surely. He's been working. Serdar Adalı is referred to, the scouts, he's referred to them. We haven't had an official announcement. Allegedly, that's due to a contract situation with our previous club.
You think they're the ones who came up with Cengiz Ünder? Karta?
Obviously not, Sinan. But the issue there is clearly at that point we had no foreigners out, so you couldn't bring one in. So I think that was a panic move made by. It would have been a presidential move, that one, if that came to fruition, based off of the fact that we were kind of locked in, we couldn't sign any foreigners. But it's been a day since Jean Onana's left on loan to Genoa, and we still haven't really heard anything. But I mean, I'm just kind of like taking his word for it that the not sporting director, whoever they are, whether that's Graf or Siegbert, seemingly they are doing their job. It's just pending an official announcement once this contract situation with.
By the way, I can confirm though that Victor John Vick, he has started.
Yeah,
I can confirm that.
That's a fact. Yeah.
What's his role, by the way?
He's a scout. Worked previously for Molde and Manchester United, so I assume.
He's about Erling Haaland, for those who didn't know.
Supposedly.
And
could have been useful
him
10
and
years ago.
Solskjaer that developed Haaland together at Molde before he went to Salzburg.
Yeah.
That is an exciting move.
Oh, so for sure, yeah.
Yeah,
but
so
it's so weird though, Kartal. We see this is happening. John Vick is coming in. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has twice said now that we won't be going for expensive star player type signings. Yet in the media you keep hearing these weird names pop up, like Ridwan Yilmaz, for example. Okay, that's not a star signing, but. Yeah. But what is that? Why on earth would you?
Because he's Turkish and he was developed in a youth academy. Anyone that's been following Ridwan at Rangers knows that he plays about 3 games and then he's injured for 2 months, or 3 months even. Like, the guy's been injury prone since he went to Rangers. I think that would be a disaster of a signing.
He was injury prone with us, Kartal. Don't you remember? He got injured in a sprint with that Trabzon player. I forget, the one that went to Italy.
But it wasn't this bad.
Well, it started there, I think. He was out for a good while, and then when he came back, it took him a long time to get back in form. I think that's already an indication of, how much a player struggles with injuries and stuff like that. So I don't know, man.
Guys, we'd be remiss not to mention that there's one star.
You know what?
Overly expensive signing that we never have to worry about hearing again.
You know why we don't have comments? I forgot to click the go live button. The whole time? I forgot to click the go live button.
For fuck's sake. Is that not?
Wait, but aren't there people watching?
Streaming, the stream is, I think, up. They can comment already, but they don't see us.
Have you recorded this, man? Please tell me you've recorded it.
Yeah, I've recorded it.
Yeah, so just upload it to YouTube, man. Because we've been doing this for 40 minutes.
Yeah, sure. I'll do it like that.
You record it for 40 minutes, man. It'd be terrible to start again. Just if you realise 5 minutes in.
Yeah, I don't understand why it doesn't have that button automatically. That's so fucking stupid. I'm gonna go live now, and I'll replace it. Okay. All right, we are live now. We have been recording for 40 minutes. I'm going to upload the recording later, but we're gonna continue it. We're not gonna restart because otherwise.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we have to do everything again. But we just talked about the match, and now we're going to talk a little bit about the stuff behind the scenes. So we just discussed that John Vick. Oh, there we go. There's the comments. We just discussed that John Vick has been officially appointed as one of the scouts, former head scout of Molde, and also worked for Manchester United. As Kartal pointed out, he is the scout that is credited with discovering what's his name? Erling Haaland.
Erling Haaland.
But boys, I mean, obviously, I think we can't blame. We obviously cannot blame Serdar Adalı, or even, and especially not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for the result yesterday. I think I've been very critical of Serdar Adalı. But I don't think you can blame him anything for this. That's the squad building, that's the problem, and that's the players. Yeah. But he has made certain promises, and it's now the 31st of December today. I think we were all expecting something to happen now that Can Onana is gone. The excuse of, okay, we can't bring anyone in because we don't have foreign spots is gone now. Can Onana is officially off to Genoa. Yeah, and again, a quiet day, nothing developing. Of course...
So it just proves that the promise that 2 players already is bullshit as well.
I mean, it has... Either it was bullshit or Solskjaer said, I don't want these players, right? But I don't think that's the case. To me, it just smells like bullshit. Yeah, I think it's a very weird situation.
Unless one of the players was Cengiz Ünder. But they could have signed him on day one, so that's no excuse for that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I was just a funny move.
Yeah. It's I don't know exactly what to expect from it, guys. It's it feels a lot like, to me, like Hassan Arat. Hassan Arat, exactly the same thing when he was running for his presidency in November last year. He said everything was ready. We already have players signed. They're ready to come in on day one. And then eventually we had to wait until, what was it, like deadline day? I think Mucci and Al Musrati both came in the last 3 days of the window. Or something like that. And right now, it's the 31st of December. The window tomorrow, the window runs until the 11th of February. So they have 11 more days. But the window has been open since the 13th, so they have had 18 days already to bring in new players. Okay, granted, the new coach has only been here for 11 days. But still, that's 11 days with the new coach. And then now you have 11 more days. And nothing has happened yet. And of course, you know, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we didn't hear anything about that. We only found that out when it was done. So maybe it's going to be the same with the transfers, where we're not going to find out until actually something is 100% done. But yeah, I don't know. It's a double-edged sword, because on one end, you want to know what's going on as a fan. When things take so long as they're taking now, I think it's really good that they're keeping everything close to the vest. And I think it's good that they're not leaking stuff, except for the Cengiz Ünder thing, of course, that got leaked clearly to maybe gauge the reaction of the fans. But if you think about it, it's better that they don't leak. If we're, for example, negotiating with Serginho, or we're negotiating with Molde for Emil Breivik, or we're negotiating with Copenhagen for a player, or with this player, or with that club. It's good that it's not leaking, because then the price doesn't get pushed up, both for the player as well as for their clubs. But when you take so long to make a signing, it becomes unbearable for the fans, because for us it looks like nothing is happening. of course, behind the scenes, I'm sure they're doing stuff. But when everything takes so long and is dragged out so long, and then the results also aren't good, yeah, then you're going to you create a pressure cooker environment, and it's their own fault because of the promises that were made and not kept. Serdar Adalı has won the election with, I'm gonna call them very respectfully, white lies. But honestly, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah,
He pointed his finger at Hüseyin Yücel and even mocked him in interviews for being a liar. Remember with the whole sponsorship, the sponsorship deals? How he, I think he literally said, "Oh, you're going down. You're just like your Hasan Abi now. Just just telling lies."
Yeah, the funny thing is, what happened to the Gain and Rams sponsorships that Serdar Adalı announced? We've not heard anything about them.
Yeah.
If the truth is, so far, Adalı's been proven to be full of shit. The only thing that I could sort of defend him on is the non-sporting director, because he's referred to him as working, but it seems like there's a contract situation with the former employer that's stopping that being announced formally. But he has referred to him that he's working with us in the coach for the transfers. He did refer to him.
Yeah, but do you believe him on his word, Kartal? He hasn't. He hasn't.
Well, according to Yas Sabunjolu, the guys in the country as well, so we don't know, man. We can't say for sure, but we don't really have anything other than his word to go off on. We can't say either way. That's the only thing you can make a slight defence on, but everything else, you're spot on, man. White lies. The two supposed sponsorships, bullshit. The two supposed transfers coming in that were being funded by businessmen, the one Kurush wouldn't come out of the club's bank, bullshit. Just being lies. And the fact that this not a sporting director, like, see if there was an issue with the contract with the previous employer, you should have made that clear from the start. Because according to him, everything was all rosy, it was all fine, blah, blah, blah. Still no. He may be working in the background, or maybe that's bullshit as well. But we're still waiting on a formal announcement on that. Only positive thing that's happened so far, I think, is John Vick being announced as a scout, and that was Ollie. Let's not kid ourselves on here. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer brought him in. That wasn't a Serdar Adalı find. That was saying, this guy's my brother. I've worked with him in Molde for years. We built the Molde project together with him. Let's bring him to Beşiktaş as well. Like, that was all down to Ollie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's very hard. I mean, I don't even want to defend him. I feel like with Hasan Arat, for the longest time, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. I tried to give the board the benefit of the doubt, because you wanted to succeed, right? But Serdar Adalı so far, 30 plus days into his presidency, just seems like the same. Yeah, it's just a bullshitter right now. That's the conclusion you have to come to. And look, I'll be the first one to hold my hand up, both of them, if in the next few days they bring in good players. But even then, let's say they finish this. I would be happy if they end up signing 2 exciting players this window. A winger, at least one winger, and then maybe another quality player. We'll see in what position. But the fact that he in his campaign clearly said, I have 2 players lined up and signed.
That's the irony. Guys, look at this comment right there. Ole officially has done more for Beşiktaş than Adalı. Right, with the Vic thing, I think you can almost not really argue that, right?
Serdar Adalı did bring Quaresma to Beşiktaş. So.
Yeah, that's
once upon a time.
That's 15 years ago.
And if the news is true, he's paid the wages out of his own pocket as well. So that's obviously
okay. So, should we applaud him for that? He knew what he was getting into.
Yeah. I mean,
and those wages have to be paid. That's just the way companies function at the bare minimum.
Something is done, though. That's why I pointed out.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's Hussein Yücel was doing that as well. So,
Like, cut
Mm.
as well.
huh?
He cut the money as well.
He what?
He cut the money for 2 months.
Yeah, it shouldn't be his job to do it. But now that he was running for the presidency, then it would have been his job. And the same thing is true for Adala now.
Yeah, it's his
Hussein-
job now. It's his
Hussein
rep on the
Yücel
line.
should have never been put in the position where he should have been the personal piggy bank of the club as the vice president. That is not acceptable. But if you know full well what is going on in the club, what this club needs, the club does not have cash flow, and then you decide to run for president as Hussein Yücel, if you're Hussein Yücel, then you do not have that same excuse anymore. If you're the president, then you need to find the funds. And the same thing is true for Sedal Adala. Sedal Adala knew very well going in what the financial restrictions of the club were. And what has happened to the whole getting out of the bank union agreement? We haven't heard a word about that.
What happened to
We
any
haven't
of
heard
the
any that.
financial
And
stuff? that was
I
discussed?
have this very distinct, eerie feeling that Adala really, really, really badly wanted to be president so that he could start these real estate projects.
ventures.
And I'm sure Beşiktaş will get a nice cut from that. But let's say Beşiktaş earns 200 million from that, as he promised. He said something about 180 to 200 million. You know what? Let's call it 150 because he probably grossly overstated it. Let's call it 150. And let's say it takes him 3 years for Beşiktaş to start seeing some money of that. I think that is very hopeful. 3 years. Let's say 3 years.
Probably
Guys, let's go to the comments.
Just a
Let's
second,
go to the
let me
comments.
finish
We
this
have-
thought.
we have-
3 years.
approved. Start building. I think 3 years is generous, man.
Yeah, but let's call it 3 years, Kartal. And if he is gonna depend on that money to clear the bank union debt, in 3 years' time, we have paid exactly 150 million to the banks. Because we pay 50% interest on this stupid loan. So that's roughly 50 million a year. So all that money that Beşiktaş is gonna make on this real estate project is already gone. So what's
Yeah.
the point of it? He needs to fix this now. Okay, sorry, Sinan, you can go to the comments now. I had to finish that thought.
Yeah, and just real quickly, Khan, I guess to be this this isn't usually my role. I'm usually the serial optimist, but to be the resident cynic for a moment, I suppose you could say the point is to line his own pockets, right? Because that's ultimately he'll be setting up the back end of his life with this real estate project and probably whatever else would come from it. So, I mean, let's hope that, again, that's a very cynical take. Let's hope that's not what he's in it for, but I think certainly that's what his critics would suggest. So I'll skip all the hello comments, and of course, hello everyone, welcome. Grey Wolf says he's mentally drained. Grey Wolf, no blame to Ole, it's the squad. I think we can all agree on that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Now he says the rumor mill is Ridvan, which if that's his solution to this transfer window, we could officially put him into the L category.
You know what, the thing with Ridvan is he isn't even cheap. We were discussing it in our group chat the other day, and Ömer said I would only take him if he's free, and I think he's right. Like, I would take Ridvan, but only if he's super cheap or free. And supposedly, the Rangers want 5 million for him. Let's say you get that price down to 3.5 million. That's still 3.5 million too much.
We're buying him at a loss.
He's an excellent player, but he is super injury prone. You cannot rely on him. And for 3.5 million, guys, I am pretty sure you can get a deal done for Serginho or another really good player from Scandinavia. And I did an interview yesterday morning. I interviewed Danny Christensen, who is the local reporter in Viborg that follows the team. He's actually even going with the team to their training camp in Spain next week. He has interviewed Serginho. He interviews the coach regularly. He's talked, he knows the team really well. So I had a really good talk with him yesterday, 34 minutes. That is available already on our Patreon, by the way, on patreon.com/BeşiktaşPodcast. You have early access to that interview and you can check it out. But from what he told me, from what Danny told me, I really think that Serginho is exactly the sort of player we need. A creative player, a playmaker on the wing, somebody with good crossing ability, somebody with good true balls. Exactly like who? Rachid Ghazal. That's what it sounds like. He sounds a little bit like a combination between Ghazal and Quaresma. And look, whether or not that's a player that will translate to the Super League, that can make that step to a bigger club, that's always a risk, you know that. But the profile of the player is right. He is exactly what Beşiktaş needs. I implore you, go and check out that interview either on Patreon, or if this move comes to fruition in the next couple of days, I will publish it on YouTube. Otherwise, it will be available, I think, next Wednesday on YouTube. But really, these are the types of players we should be going after. And if you then hear that the record sale from Viborg happened a couple of years ago to Ajax, and they got 3 million euros for that player. So let's say they want a little bit more for Serginho. Let's call it 4.5. So you're gonna spend what, 3.5 million on Ridvan? If you can spend that on Ridvan, you can spend it on a player we actually need. Because honestly, I would much rather watch Masuaku for 6 more months than see us pay really good money for Ridvan and not get a decent winger. And even if we get a decent winger, I still don't want to see us pay 3.5 million for Ridvan. I want to see that money go to young, exciting players that aren't super injury prone.
I sign under what you just said there, Ken. I fully agree with you, bro. We don't need another chronic player. Especially, we've already got one unreliable left back. We don't need another unreliable left back.
Yeah.
This team, a creative winger is one of this team's biggest deficiencies. I've been crying out loud for it since the summer. So I really agree with you. Fully agree with you on that comment there, man, on that sentiment. We need a player like Serginho, man. We don't need that Ridvan Yilmaz.
Have you gotten a chance to watch the interview yet, by the way, Kartal?
I listened to the start of it, bro, but I didn't get through all of it.
You should listen to it, because I think you're gonna like what you hear. Because like, it's almost like Danny watched our show and listened to what you said we needed for the last couple of months, and like he repeated what you said. It's almost exactly what that's how he described Serginho.
Charlie, man, that's good to hear, man. Obviously, I've looked at his stats, so the high chance creation as well. The main thing is he's not, from what I've read, he's just not. It's not just that he's tricky. Well, he's quite fast. Can beat a man.
Wait, guys, before we do anything, let's have a look. Wait, my boy got his orange belt today. Let's have a look. Put it up. Oh, his congratulations. Yeah, go cough somewhere else.
And the bird flew.
Congratulations, Aiden. Very proud of you. Sorry, go ahead, guys.
Back to the comments, folks. And there's a lot of comments. We have another good day in the comment section.
If I didn't mess up.
Yeah, it might have been even more exciting. I don't know. We wouldn't be able to handle it if there were more. So we have a new commenter, by the way. Welcome to Mert. They've inherited the messes and failures of previous coaches and presidents. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit prior to the starting to go live. So you'll get to hear some of our stuff.
I think we reiterated.
Did we do that?
Yeah. What I'm gonna end. I'm gonna have to. Yeah, we'll see. I'll leave this live stream up and I'll upload it as a separate video. As a do it like that. Otherwise, we lose the.
Yeah, and we'll we'll get the match analysis and all the other stuff up after after we finish recording. So don't worry, folks. You'll get to hear our whole spiel about the match against Twente if you want to relive that for some reason. If you guys are into S&M for some reason. Anyhow. Welcome, Mert, regardless. Grey Wolf followed that up with, then Adala should come out and say Ole didn't like players.
Of course he should. He needs to own up to his own words, and he needs to come out and he needs to be a president.
Oh, you mean players that like he rejected?
Yeah, if
that they were going to bring in.
If that is the case, then just say it, but be transparent, because we have gone through this for a year with Arad, where there was very little transparency, let's call it that. And on one hand, again, I'm reiterating myself, I applaud the fact that they're keeping things close to the vest. That's how they should do things. But if you're going to make the fans wait really long, then you're gonna get situations like this, and you need to, as the president, then come out and address them and reassure the fans. Because right now, look, our fans are also seeing what's going on. Fenerbahce signed Talisca, they signed Milan Skriniar, they signed that player from Aston Villa. They've made 3 big signings already. I'm not saying Beşiktaş.
Didn't Galatasaray sign someone today,
I don't
right?
know. They are.
Who gives a shit? I mean, we don't want to talk about it.
The problem.
Don't want to talk about these bastards.
We don't need to sign big players, but we need to sign players because we know that this team lacks wingers. We saw it very painfully again yesterday. And that needs to be addressed. And this guy like a Serginho, for example, he plays for a club whose record transfer fee is 3 million. If you can't find the money to get that player away from them, just put some money on the table, man. I understand we don't have 11 million or 15 million or whatever to spend on a single player, but I'm sure we can find 4 or 5 million for a good player, right? Go ahead and find it and stop wasting your time with names like Ridvan Yilmaz. If that's true, of course, because, what can we believe from the media?
Especially the source on that is Gökmen Özcan, man. So.
Oh, well.
It's not.
But I saw other people mention it as well, though. I think Firat was talking about it, Serjan was talking about it. Gökmen Özcan, of course, if he's the original source, then you can already scratch it because he's can't believe him, but
He's a fraud and a Galatasaray fan as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Continuing. Mario says, you really think Ridvan will come back? I don't know, man. Jason says, Adala's on thin ice now. He ought to be. At least, he's probably not.
If
he's definitely there for the next 6 months.
If he makes the transfers, if he makes good transfers this window, I think he's fine. But he needs to make good on the promises.
But that seems to be a big if at the moment. He needs to just shut his mouth up. These all of the promising by these folks needs to be cease and desist. Cut that shit out. Just do something. Shut your face and just do stuff. Make the club. Please start acting and doing less talking, folks. In that position. Continuing. Everyone saw. This is Grey Wolf. Everyone saw how angry got and yelled at Yücel. Adala. It's obvious everything he said is a lie. Mario says Adala isn't looking too hot right now. Grey Wolf. Oh, quick change of subject. Rumor. There's a rumor. Remember, Grey Wolf. If you're gonna drop a rumor, we need to hear the source because we don't like to.
Yeah, then we can.
Then
we can also bring them
rumors.
up. If you have a rumor, guys, then we can bring it up as well. So,
and we can pull up the Twitter feed of whomever it is. But so I'll give you the pass this time, Grey Wolf, and I'll name the rumor. But going forward, folks, we're not gonna even list your rumors if you don't give a good source, because we really try not to put up BS rumors, because we don't want to just be another fanatic or whatever, one of those scums. So let's keep it real. No, I mean, sorry, I don't mean to be chastising you, Gray.
No.
You know what I'm saying. But the rumor that he mentions is that Valladolid is interested in Batyar Zaynutdinov.
Yeah, but the source
Which is
on that
not-
is Serdar Sarada, I'm pretty sure. So,
Who-
you know.
And that's not an interesting rumor to me because he's not even foreign. He doesn't count as a foreigner, so like that doesn't even help us.
doesn't answer that. Sarada's not had a correct piece of news in 9 years.
Yeah. I think the last thing he got
He's,
right was Mario Gomez. So, yeah.
He says it's Haber Karate, which I've never heard of. You mean Haber Kartal? Maybe that was a spell check.
Haber Karate!
I'm assuming that was a spell. Haber Karate. Hi. Continuing. Mario, Yosin on that basketball jersey is oh, he's doing the like. Yes, thank you, sir. Yeah, normally I would have already switched back to our jersey, the with the routine being finished. But since Khan gave it so many compliments, I'll just reiterate
It's in my
that.
shopping bag, bro. I want it as well, but I'm waiting for the retro jerseys. So let's have a.
This is the jersey we wore yesterday, right?
Yeah.
The white one, yeah.
We haven't had a ton of success
The
with
first
this.
time we wore the white one in Europe. Away.
That's not completely true. We wore the white one away to Lugano, but it's the first time in the actual competition.
By the way,
Um.
oh.
Yeah, not a great success, that's for sure.
Yep.
Next up, Vigilante Turk. I watched the match against Twente. I knew Beşiktaş was going to play bad just by their body language. Looks like they were panicking and everywhere. Looks like they were panicking everywhere, starting from the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were definitely. And again, folks, tune in. We're gonna rebroadcast our
Yeah, we'll figure. I'll
analysis
figure
of the
it out
match.
What we do with it. But,
we did the usual, roster and stats and all that. Yeah, apologize for the podcast on the technical issues there. But yeah, we'll get it together. Don't worry, folks. Continuing. Mario, that's a fair observation. Yeah, that we were panicking, I'm sure. Yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about. We talked about a few players individually who were panicking, especially, and yeah, stay tuned for that. And then Mario says they just look defeated from the get. Yeah. Jason says Ole officially has done more for Beşiktaş than Adale, and that's when we were talking about how he brought in this Vic fellow, whereas Serdar Adale has not brought in anyone. And that was when Kartal mentioned that he had brought in Quaresma. By the way, Kartal, you seem to be hiding underneath the name tag again. You're slinking again.
I'm gonna have
Mario
to buy
says,
a camera. Look what my camera does, guys. Ooh. It tracks me. It tracks me. It tracks me. I should get Katla one of those cameras.
Oh, it'll move down for him.
I'll see if I can find the tweet that Gray Wolf was talking about. By the way, new header.
You mean Haber Karate?
Karate.
Mario says we still have yet to see what Adala brings to the club. I don't think he's had a fair shake. He might surprise us. Yeah, I mean, look, Mario, it's true that we should not write him out just yet. We're stuck with him for 6 months at the very least, so we got to hope for the best. But
yeah, and the club needs stability.
Not
the club
great
needs
news so
stability as well. I mean, imagine if imagine if a new president comes in, then what happens to the scouting team that's being set up now? What happens to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and all? Because like, I want to continue with Solskjaer and Mo. I want to continue with a proper scouting team and all that kind of stuff. I just need Serdar Adala to make true on his promises. So what was the rumor?
Exactly, and he is on the clock. Like, we can't pretend like he's not on the clock. I mean, and not just the figurative, like, oh, something has to happen because our club is in, right? But like the literal clock as far as the transfer window is closing in 11 days. So it's not.
We can just hope that, let's say, Fikret Orban replaces him, just continues with the scouting team. That's another thing. But as most of the time, if it's not basically if a new president
if it's not
comes in,
his idea.
they'll scrap it.
Here's that rumor, by the way, but as you can see, the source is Serdar Sarada, so...
BS Merchant! Okay, moving on. Okay, I'm gonna have a little, like, theme song for every time there's BS Merchant. And then Mario follows up that somewhat reluctantly reverential message with, unless he's just blowing smoke up our asses, which he may well be doing. The Vigilante Turk says he agrees with Mario, I think, regarding giving him a fair shake. Carlito, good to see you, my man. Good to see him in the chat for sure. Time's ticking though, transfer-wise. Yeah, just as I said, in the literal sense, right? He's on the clock. And for the rest of the promises, it is still too soon to evaluate, to be fair, despite us expecting quicker action. Yes and no, but like there could be something, right? Like there could be a bit of transparency, right? Like if they're putting up names and then someone doesn't like them, let us know. Just like they could be putting us at ease as far as letting us know that things are happening at the very least, even if it's not quite the way we want it to be happening, or so there's a degree of transparency that's lacking. Not that that's new, but again, right? Like you still hope for it. Just because it's the same garbage being put on repeat doesn't change that we're not getting it.
Thank you, Mert, for subscribing.
Yeah.
Mert Yildirim subscribed
maybe
to the channel.
Murder Mert.
By the way, there's a Di Marzio rumor up there. I mean, we know that he's a bit of a shit peddler, but
BS merchant.
BS merchant. But Beşiktaş supposedly interested in Roma's 21-year-old left back Samuel Dahl, and Empoli. Oh, and the 24-year-old Empoli left back Liberto.
Oh, I can't wait to get to some of these comments, dude. All right, hold on. Mario says, Sina, are you drinking Tsingtao? Yes, I am. In honor of the Lunar New Year. Happy Lunar New Year, folks. Third day. That's also why we can't get our non-sporting director in, because we all know that it's a month of celebration. I don't know. Jason, hope we get paid for that. Oh, for my little Tsingtao sponsorship deal there. Yeah, I don't know. I think China might be on an embargo list soon, given the current state of things.
We got a new transfer,
and
guys.
Says,
look.
A dog
What's her name?
or the nails?
Julia Jujureska.
Jurovska. Oh, supposedly that's what's her name's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Ebrar, Karakur's girlfriend. Congrats to Ebrar, so at least she's closer to loved ones. Continuing on, Ender says, fell short. In caps, full caps. We did a little bit more than fall short. I think we played an active role in falling short this time around, but sure. Grey Wolf, looks like Osimhen is going to Arsenal. Hold on. And then Jason says, Gala is currently none of our concern, Grey Wolf. I like that. That was very diplomatic. Who gives a shit, Grey Wolf? Edim Gul says, there's no team in Turkey that can afford 80 million euros for Osimhen right now.
Who?
And then Jason says, I'm sure Gala can sell some plot of land worth 80 million.
Would anyone want to pay that? Like, would you legit want to pay that for a striker? He just scored his first goal from open play yesterday in 12 matches. I mean...
Well, good luck Arsenal, if they are the ones.
He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's not world class. I'll die on that hill. He's not an elite striker. He's a very, very good striker.
Immobile is doing better than him.
Not really.
Adam says that's the dumbest thing I've heard in a while. I mean, I think you probably recognize that Jason was joking with the plot of land thing.
I'm trying to find some rumors here.
You're on the hunt.
Dahl rumor here as well. Yeah. Is he Danish?
Yeah,
what is he?
Looks to be based on that jersey there. No, isn't that the Danish? No, is that Roma? That was a nice little jersey.
Let's have a look.
At first I thought it was the Danish national team. Otto John says, after yesterday, our main goals have become placing third and winning the domestic cup. We are 8 points behind Samsung for third. Yeah, agree, Otto. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Dahl.
Yeah, I was thinking Jon Dahl Thomas. He was Danish.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that a lot of these Northern European links will just be bullshit, because they know we've.
Exactly.
They're just scout
throwing noodles at the wall. Yeah, I agree, Achil. I think that's absolutely correct that our goals right now are third place and the cup. And, that's kind of been our goal for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
it's I guess we're used to it. Mert yielded it. Oh, okay, so that's not murder, Mert. It says, I don't understand why you want more transfers. The current squad is bad and there are no goals left. Why should we spend money to win 3 or 5 more games? I think we need to even sell if possible. Mert, I will say that we definitely need to sell. But the idea that we don't have to bring in talent is a little bit farcical insofar as we definitely need to compete for third place and get a spot in Europe no matter what. Because of our position financially, we cannot afford to lose out on at least third place or the cup. And either one of those gives you a direct route to Europe. And that's why I think we absolutely need to focus on getting back into Europe financially and just for the sake of having those matches to play in next year and the ability to attract talent with the prospect of playing in Europe and everything that it comes with. So yeah, that's where I feel like it doesn't matter how bad things are, folks. We still have to go on with business as usual, and not as usual as far as like making the same stupid mistakes that we've seen made over and over and over again, but business as usual insofar as we are still a football club trying to compete and win matches, because that's what football clubs always, like at the bare minimum, have to be doing. And there's no chance we're going to do much of that if we keep things as they are. We need talent, especially on the creative side of things. If we can't create chances at a far higher clip than we have thus far this season, we are going to finish in, at best, 5th place.
Yeah,
and that's not
and
good
if
enough.
you don't qualify for Europa or the Europa League or the Conference League at the bare minimum, that's 10 million less on your budget next season as well. Keep that in mind. So that means less money to spend in the summer, and we're already going to have to. I think we're going to have to decrease our deficit for financial fair play already. I think if Carlito is still in the chat, maybe he can give the exact numbers on that. But there's going to be a more tightening of the belt regarding financial fair play. Not making moves this window is wasting a window, and rebuilding a team takes more. Like Brad Friedel talked about this earlier this season, and I know Brad Friedel is somebody that a lot of our fans, in part, I think to the likes of Bülent Uslu and company, ridiculed because of him being an American. But the man is not wrong when he says that rebuilding a squad, unless you have, like Galatasaray and Fenerbahce, apparently a bottomless pit of money to spend, unless you have that, rebuilding a squad takes 2, 3, 4 transfer windows. We are still stuck with a lot of dead weight from the Ahmed Nuh Chebi era. Then of course, during Hassan Arad, more mistakes were made. Bad contracts were signed. Gabriel Paulista is one. Unfortunately, Ciro Immobile seems to be another one. And there's other ones still. The only good thing we have left from those eras, really, is Jetson and Rafa. From the players that we brought in. And Felix, I like Emirhan, I like Svensson, but in large part we have a lot of work to do, so we cannot afford to miss a window and not to improve the team. We have to bring in 2, maybe 3 quality players now, and then we can bring in 2, maybe 3 quality players in the summer, and hopefully some young depth options as well. Maybe, for example, Emirhan Demircan, who has been mentioned for a few times already, from Bayern 2. Maybe he's a decent player. We don't know, but maybe. Let's hope he is somebody that the new not sporting director Edward Graaf wants to bring in. Maybe, hopefully, that's somebody he's actually watched closely. If you can bring in 2, 3 guys for the starting 11 this window, and 2, 3 guys for the starting 11 next window. Masuaku, his contract is running out. Maybe you can offload Ciro to Saudi or something, or maybe he can go back to the Serie A. We'll see. I'm sure there will be options. Maybe Gabriel Paulista can go back to Brazil, whatever. There's players who have options to go. Hopefully Ox will leave. Hopefully, Saliu Chan for me is a player that should go. I think his contract extension was bullshit. I don't think he's somebody that should have gotten a no contract. He's part of the problem in my opinion. But you need to systematically start changing up and rebuilding this squad already. I don't understand the people who are writing on Twitter and like you now, Mert, who are saying we shouldn't make any transfers. Why?
Yeah, that's just throwing in the towel, man. That's accepting this fate. You know.
Well,
I was having the same debate with Umer in the group chat earlier today. Yeah, come on, we can't be so doom and gloom, folks. Like we're still a football club with half a season left to play.
Unless the argument,
let's not lose complete
Unless the
track.
argument is, I don't want Selo Adala to make transfers because in May I want Fikret Orman or I want somebody else to be the president, then I can kind of understand where you're coming from. But if in your head we are continuing for 3.5 years with Selo Adala, then the rebuild starts now and not in 5 months. And if he were to make that excuse, then I think he should go. He doesn't have a transfer window.
Yeah, he just needs to back out now.
There's no wasting of a transfer window. You cannot afford it. The gap is already so big with the other two. You can't afford it to become even bigger. Again, Fenerbahce just signed Skriniar, Talisca, and that guy from Aston Villa. Galatasaray are maybe about to sign Morata and some other players. And what are we doing? We're standing still. I'm not saying you have to compete with them in the sense of spending money, because then you end up with things like Ciro Immobile, unfortunately, and Rafa. That's a positive, but we can't compete with them monetarily. But what we can do is we can bring in young, hungry players, and if we scout them well, if we find gems. Look at, for example, again, harkening back to my conversation with Danny Christensen, our exclusive interview on Serginho, currently available on our Patreon, and next Wednesday it will be available on the YouTube channel. Unless something happens, I will publish it sooner. But harkening back to that interview, what he told me is it's that Viborg, the club where Serginho plays, they have been focusing on the Portuguese market for a long time. They're scouting there. Their previous player, Agraf, Elias Agraf, who went to Copenhagen and who Serginho replaced, also came from the Portuguese league. So they have been scouting that Portuguese league already. But what he told me, one of the things he told me was, Serginho, when he first came, he was in and out of the team a lot because he had to learn. He had to learn that he isn't just playing his own match. He had to learn that he had to play for the team, that he had to defend, that he had to help out, that he had to track back, that he had to press, all that kind of stuff. But in his first year, he learned that. And the thing is, for Beşiktaş cannot afford to go to Portugal to get a player like Serginho who doesn't know to track back, who doesn't know to press, who doesn't know what it is to play for the team and not just for himself. Beşiktaş does not have the time to waste a year on a player. Because at Beşiktaş you need to be not the finished article, but you need to be polished up a little bit already. So that is why we have to go to Viborg to get a player like that and not to the source, to the root source, because we have to polish. We have to already have a diamond that is a little polished already, and we can do the final polishing and then move him on for big money. But a player is never gonna get that time in Turkey. Let's be honest. You know.
Yeah, when you have a raw talent, they barely get playing time, like as we've seen on numerous occasions.
Look at how difficult Mucci is finding it, and he's already somebody that's been polished up a little bit already. And look how difficult he's finding it because of the pressure.
Yeah, and he's playing out of position as well, though. That's another thing we need to take into consideration.
Anyway, back to the comments. Atil. So first, Adam agrees with Atil that we have nothing to do except, as he said, aim for third in the cup. Grey Wolf said, Atil says, when your goals shift mid-season, it's tough because it feels like we're starting over. But to be honest, Ole has experience in the situation in particular. He touched on it yesterday. Yeah, agreed. Grey Wolf, we did Haber Karate. Nasser says, hello, hope you're doing well. Am I tripping? Sinan, did you get rid of your beard? I did. Sarper mentioned I was a hippie a few weeks ago, and I had to undo some of my reputational damage. No, I'm kidding. I do seasonally have a beard. It'll be back, I'm sure, because the weather. It was like warm for a couple of days, and now it's cold again. So I'm gonna grow it out. That's like my scarf insulator.
If you want to watch a sexy beard, then I can change the screen for you.
There he is. There he is.
Yeah.
Mario says, I thought something was different. All right, I guess people notice these things. I gotta
see, Randy, you haven't went for the clean shaving, have you? You still have a bit of stubble there.
I never fully shave. I'm a trimmer. You know, I don't. Shaving is too much work,
I don't like
man.
shaving.
I don't have time.
I used to shave every day. In school still, I used to shave every day, and when I left school and when I think when I met Kim, I just stopped. I was like, fuck it, I like a beard, even though I don't have.
Yeah, my wife loves.
I don't have a fantastic full luscious beard, but I like. I don't like it when it gets too long, though. Then it gets itchy. But when it gets like this, is fine, I think.
Yeah, see,
a little traction, you know.
I've had that beard for 5.5 years, man. I went through a period of like shaving it off and then growing out again for a while. But then I've just settled on keeping it. I've not shaved my beard at all. And
you know, your beard reminds me of that wrestler Austin Aries, I think. You know him?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
You kind of have a similar. You should do something like that.
Yeah, man, I know him. I remember him. He was on TNA and then he went to WWE as well and was like cruiserweight champion and stuff like
that. Anyway, guys, with your little wrestling quips, we've got Attila says the basketball jersey is a banger. Thank you, sir. Edim says Europa League dream was good. They just stole one of our dreams again.
Yeah.
Very dramatic, Edim. I would say that I don't think that was like a realistic dream. No, I mean, look, we all wanted the most success we could get in that tournament, and it was really quite fun. I'll be honest. We got, in a way, I think we got more than we could have expected, given all the chaos that we were under for these months that we were in this tournament. And we put up. I mean, no, we didn't put up a great showing. Obviously, you'd expect much better from a club like Beşiktaş. Losing points to Maccabi Tel Aviv. Yeah. I mean, you could say that the dream was over as soon as that happened, in a way. And of course, like we were salvaging from there and hoping for the best.
That was a must-win match, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did the impossible and beat Athletic, which we never counted on to beat them, and he gave us hope. But the players.
I thought we were down and out after the Maccabi and Bodo games, man.
Of course, yeah.
The Bilbao game was a kind of restored our faith, man. But yeah, like that Maccabi game, we always should have won that. Twente was always going to be difficult away. Obviously, we should have played a lot better than we did. That performance isn't acceptable. Under any means, it's not acceptable. Yeah. We should be playing head to head with them at least, and maybe just getting a bit unlucky. Whereas yesterday we were outclassed. We should never be getting outclassed by a team like that, man.
No, of course not. Never. Not even in your darkest hour. We should be beating them. But yeah, you can't put away the importance of. We are the only team in the Europa League that played only 3 home matches, and that is just unfair. You can't. There's no ifs or buts about that. We got screwed over there. But the match was also...
That was fucking bullshit.
Oh, yeah, of course. But the match was also... It was the perfect storm. It was the low point of our season, I'd argue.
Yeah, it was.
It was probably really the darkest hour for the club, for the team, for the coach, for everyone. The rumors are still that Giovanni van Bronckhorst offered his resignation after the Gustepe match. Now, I actually don't believe that, because I haven't watched this entire interview, but I heard a quote from his interview in the Netherlands where he said that he could have. He thinks that they still could have righted the wrong or gotten the train back on track. He said that in an interview in the Netherlands. So that doesn't sound to me like a guy who offered his resignation after the Gustepe game. But anyway, that is the story they're going with, so let's follow it for a second. But that was the low point of our season. I think if we had played them at home, I think we still could have lost that game, honestly.
Yeah.
Because we were so shit at that point. But that doesn't...
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
The players were getting paid, and I think they kind of knew Gio was getting sacked, so they kind of just gave up, I think.
But it's still that's still in no mean in no means justifies what was done to us. It was a great injustice, I feel. It's very, very unfair. It goes against the grain of sportsmanship and of the sports. Because we are the only team, not counting Maccabi themselves, of course, because they have had to play all their home matches in Hungary. But that's, yeah, they shouldn't even be in the competition in the first place. But we are the only team in the Europa League who didn't get 4 home games. And we missed out on the next round by 2 points. Or by a point even. Because if you don't lose that game against Maccabi, if you win that game, you have 12 points. If you draw that game, you have 10 points and you have a better goal differential.
Yeah.
We have -5 now. We could have had if we drew it, we could have had -3. And I think Fener went 2 with -3. Or -2. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, it was we got screwed over. And yeah. What can you say, right?
Yeah, I've got
Massively screwed over. I mean, dude, football is such a game of fine margins, man. Just think about how yesterday we lost to Twente, and that's despite the fact that we were, 1 inch to the left and Masuaku scores on that free kick, or 1 inch down and Al-Musrati's shot goes in, and we shithouse a draw, right? But like, it just goes to show you that football is such a game of fine margins. But so going back to losing our home match,
Twente,
in a way that's so much bigger of a deal, right? Like in Europe, no less. I mean, just think about the finances that we lost.
100% deserve to win. But if Musrati scores at 0-0 in the second half on that corner, I think we win that. I think we shithouse a win, because that would give the entire team a boost. It would demoralize Twente. I think then you have a very good chance at shithousing a win. It would have been completely undeserved, but that's football. Yeah. We could have won that game, despite the fact that we were terrible. Yeah. And Twente was so much better and deserved to win 100%. But if that shot from Musrati goes in, if it doesn't get blocked on that corner, I think you win that game, and then you're through. And that's why it's absolutely unforgivable that our home game advantage against Maccabi was pulled out from under us. We were sold out by the nation, and we were sold out by UEFA.
Mm-hmm. Yep, agreed.
I just want to.
And again, Alper, the one correction I have, as far as no matter what the Maccabi match was on the government, it was, to an extent, on their end, what they did was inexcusable, but it's also on UEFA insofar as you think of all the exceptions they make, all the rules they've made, banning this country and that country. Look, it's a nation that's in the midst of a war, right? You're supposed to avoid, it's on UEFA to mitigate this. It's not on us to lose a home match. It's not on us to lose the finances of a home game in Europe, right? Like, we're a club where the margins are so important. And especially on the level of finance, think about how much money we lost. A European game that was super consequential, right? Like, we went into that with every ability to move into the next round, depending on that result. We would have sold that shit out. It's absurd.
True. And keep in mind, Sinan, for years before the Russian teams got banned when they invaded Ukraine in 2021 or 2020. But Russia invaded Ukraine back in 2014 for the first time, a small invasion. And ever since then, Ukrainian clubs and Russian clubs for 6+ years were separated during every single draw in UEFA competition. Russian clubs and Ukrainian clubs could not face each other in qualifiers, could not face each other in group stages. They could face each other in Europe. I was always super curious what is gonna happen if two teams from each country, one team of each country, somehow manage to shithouse themselves into like a semi-final, and they come up against each other. What do they do then? Or let's imagine they reach the final. What would UEFA do then, I wonder? But anyway, so for 6+ years they were able to separate teams from Russia and Ukraine. And they could not have foreseen that there would have been a massive issue if an Israeli team would have to go to Turkey. So why don't they separate us in the draw then? Why? That's 100% on UEFA. There is no excuse. First and foremost, Maccabi and all other Israeli clubs should not be in UEFA. One, they are nowhere near Europe. They have no business being in the UEFA competition. It's not our fault that they can't get along with their neighbors and they can't play in the Asian League anymore. And two, they're a country at war that are invading, that are committing a genocide. They have no business being in the UEFA competition. Look at Russia. They got cancelled straight away by UEFA. Same thing should have happened to Israel. Anyway, let's not make it political. Of course, the Israeli,
definitely
the Israeli players and the Israeli football fans and all that. It's not their fault what their government is doing, but why
right,
is Beşiktaş
to mitigate this thing? And
why is Beşiktaş getting punished?
If you have to do certain, exactly, that's the thing. Why would any Turkish club be punished for something that we have zero to do with? It's not like Turks are like actively involved in a war.
Imagine tomorrow, Sinan, you're walking on the street. You remember that Seinfeld episode, the last one, the season finale, where they saw the guy get robbed and they were just making fun of him? But no, imagine like you're walking on the street and one guy attacks another guy, you have nothing to do with it, and then the guy that attacked the other guy is in the same elevator as you, and the police come and round you up, and they say you did it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's a bad analogy. But
give you a ticket for. Yeah. We could come up, but it's just clearly unfair, and just bottom line is like, we're not in a position to be not banking money for a home game of huge consequence. I mean, not to mention the support of our fans and all the rest of that comes with that. But anyway,
the least UEFA could have done if they were gonna screw us over like that is give us a referee that's gonna give us a couple of free penalties, like Twente got last week in Malmö. They could have given us a couple of makeup calls. No, but come on, it's ridiculous.
Put your weight thumb on the weights, on the scale. Anyway, Nasser says they only started pressuring Twente after going a goal down. Not nearly good enough. Twente wanted it more, showing greater aggression and pressing and winning second balls. Ole needs new players. Yeah, we all agree. Please, folks, tune into our. We're gonna put it up after we're done here. I think we did a pretty good analysis, and I think what's interesting is that you guys are all kind of echoing things that we said before we went on air. So. We've developed like a hive mind, I suppose, which is, that's fun. Moving on. Nasir, again, it's crazy how a club like Beşiktaş doesn't even have a proper scouting department or reports. Ole's got a lot on his plate. Yeah, tell me about it. I was watching him towards the end of this last match and looking at his facial expressions, kind of, you were wondering like what he was going through mentally. Grey Wolf, Mustafa JK posted transfers will be announced after the Kirkland-Spor match. Yeah. Well, Kirkland-Who's
Mustafa JK?
Mustafa JK. I don't know. Someone. I mean, obviously, given that it's
so now it's
Day.
after the Tuesday game. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because of course it's all dependent on Kirkland-Spor. That's all the foreign transfers are like dying to know how we fare.
If we don't beat Kirkland-Spor, that means we don't advance in the cup. So then they're not gonna invest this window. Then they're gonna wait until the summer, right? Jesus, man.
I mean, Kirkland though, like
that's just some idiot on Twitter trying to get some Twitter clout, man. That's like Fiat and Serjan saying, "Oh, tomorrow." They say it 100 times in a window tomorrow. Ja, belke jaren.
Yeah, always. I mean, that's where the international holiday joke. I mean, I've stopped mentioning what holiday it is in various countries.
I think
the joke ran out. The joke died before they even figured out how to get a transfer. Or a not sporting director.
If Sela Adala would have actually hired a proper media representative, we have a press officer, obviously, and I hear that person. Let me check. I think his name is Mert. the press officer for Beşiktaş. He does a fantastic...
Murder? Is it murder, Mert?
Mert Kozoglu. That's our press officer. And he does a great job, I hear. But I think we needed someone that would regularly update people. That would give us updates. Like, he can say, like, we can have someone who says something like, okay, guys, look, we aren't going to reveal any names, but we are negotiating with a winger right now. And give a little bit of insights. Don't give details, but give some insights. Just update the fans, reassure fans. Make them, especially when things are gonna last this long, it's taking way too long. Then you need to reassure people. Because right now, everyone thinks nothing's gonna fucking happen. Sorry for my F-bomb there. Mm-hmm. But it's just...
Oh, I've dropped a few.
You can't leave people in the dark. They are your fans. We spend hundreds of euros every year, maybe thousands of euros on merchandise. We go to the matches. We pay for Digiturk to watch the matches. There's Beşiktaş fans who pay 250 euros and more to go to the away section in Twente. We aren't just customers. We are fans. We live and breathe this club, and we deserve to be treated with a little bit of respect. And all Hasan Arat did was insult our intelligence with his bullshit. And Serdar Adale is doing the exact same thing with his entire campaign, literally pointing his finger at the previous administrator, at Hüseyin Yücel, making all sorts of accusations, and who were in part correct. But then he goes and he does the exact same thing. How insulting is that to the fans? That's like laughing in our faces, spitting in our faces rather. So he needs to address stuff now. I know yesterday was not his responsibility. It wasn't his fault. He didn't put together that team. But he is responsible for this window. And he is responsible for the fact that we didn't have new players against Antalyaspor. That we are not going to have new players against Kirkcalelispor. And that maybe, if he sits on his ass much longer, we won't even have players for Sivasspor.
Yeah. Continuing. Master, Ole had to fix a lot when he took over from Mourinho. He's talking about at Man U. Broken morale, poor fitness levels, outdated scouting, and a squad with no tactical identity. He focused on rebuilding team spirit, promoting youth, improving recruitment, and restoring the united DNA. He's having to do the same again. Yeah, and that's what somebody else was saying earlier, that we need to... Oh, no, actually, that's later. Alper was saying this. I'll get there in a moment.
And he needs to be given the tools
and build
to
long-term
do this.
sustainability.
He needs to be given a fair chance. If he doesn't get new transfers and doesn't get the opportunity to build and to rebuild, and that starts this window, then that's super unfair to Solskjaer and to Erling Moe and to Richard Hartis and to the new scout John Vick that came in. Like, you need to give these people a fighting chance. Otherwise, in 6 months, people are gonna say, oh, he failed at Beşiktaş. No, he didn't fail at Beşiktaş if he doesn't get the players. Then we just fucked him. And wasted 6 months of his career.
Yeah, and that's a good rebuttal. It's a good rebuttal to something Alper just said in the comments, which we've sort of been encountering a lot lately. This sort of idea that we don't need transfers. Continuing on. Nasser said, Ole needs to adopt a similar blueprint to Brighton at Beşiktaş, focus on data-driven recruitment, sign young, undervalued talent, develop them within a clear tactical system, and build long-term sustainability. This approach could help Beşiktaş compete without relying heavily on big spending. Yeah, fully agree. That's basically what Khan's already said.
It doesn't even have to be data-based. You know, you can, like, for example, Midtjylland in Denmark, they're very famous for their data-based recruitment. That's actually how they found Onuachu That's how they found a lot of players. But you can also just rely on old school scouting. That's fine as well. It doesn't need to be database scouting, or you can use both. But you need to, I agree, we need to start basing our recruitment on scouting, whether it's database scouting or whether it's actual, scouts going out, watching the players. It doesn't matter, but we need to, I think somebody commented earlier about agent transfers. That is something that needs to stop at Beşiktaş.
Yeah, you got to be done with that shit for sure.
Exactly. We need to.
But we need a unified vision too, where like the scouts are looking for players who provide the requisite skills to do something that we're asking, right? So like Solskjaer, he needs to sort of establish what it is that he's looking for, and I'm sure he has, especially with this Vic guy who he's worked with for years. And so there needs to be, like as Nasser was saying, right? You need a sustainable system where you have sort of models for players. If you need like an inverted wing or like whatever the hell he has his eye on, you have to be looking for people with the requisite skills, and so that's where the scouts come in super effectively, theoretically. Like they're looking for the exact things we need to build around whatever the sort of unified vision is for us to go forward with. And that's where I think we've been so deleterious these last few years, because we've just been starting over and over and over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And like, if there is any scouts, which there probably haven't been, they're finding someone for a system that's then gone by the time the player like establishes himself within the starting lineup, or like we're not working with any sort of long-term vision whatsoever. So I mean, we need a wholesale revision of how we're approaching this club at the moment. But I think, in theory, we have some of the right people to do that. The question is the guy at the top the right one? And so far, as I think we keep coming up against, maybe not. But that doesn't, again, and we'll so remember, ideally, Serdar Azal is not the one bringing in players. So for people who are like, well, we shouldn't bring in players because this guy sucks, he's not the one bringing them in, right? The scouts are the ones who are finding the players based on the coach's preferred system. So unless you guys are suggesting we get a new coach and start over completely, I don't think you said we don't need to bring in players, because this coach, his ability to succeed will be tanked by us not bringing in the talent that he needs, and then we're going to get a new coach as well, and then we're going to be starting all over again. They're going to bring in a new tactical system.
Yeah, you have to give him a fighting chance. It's pure sabotage if you don't give him players.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, this tweet, Grey Wolf posted this in our WhatsApp group chat. By the way, to all the new people, if you go to patreon.com/BeşiktaşPodcast and you become a free member, you actually gain access to a pinned post that has a link to our group chat, WhatsApp. We have tens of people in there, I think like 20-30 people in there. Very active daily group chat. We talk about Beşiktaş all the time, even today on such a dark day. And he just posted that in the group, so I just brought this post up because I think it describes a lot, No winger, no defender, no forward. We got eliminated from Europe. No scout team. The announced sponsors still haven't been talked about anymore. And then there's no media representative. Nobody talking to the media, keeping us up to date.
To the press.
Yeah, so
no transparency.
No transparency, indeed.
That's where we keep butting up our head against the same freaking problem over and over again. Continuing on with the comments. And I too love how comment-driven everything is here, Jason. But let's keep it going with these comments. On that note, speaking of Jason, he wrote, bad news, Ayup won. For folks who don't know, Ayup Spor is in 4th place. They won 1-0 against Sivas in a red card-laden match. We won't talk about it too much, but yeah, that did happen. Yeah, and it is what it is. Sivas isn't what they have been in years prior. Mert Yildirim says, by the way, I'm glad that I discovered the channel today with the heart emoji. We're glad you did too, Mert. Please keep coming through. And there will be brighter days where we're like less argumentative and everyone's getting along more in the chat. But it is what it is. This is where we are as a club. Jason, glad to have you on board, Mert. Don't forget to subscribe and like everything we do. Yes, and that applies to every single one of you listening. Please like, subscribe, Check out our Patreon, as Khan just alluded to. Grey Wolf says we need a winger immediately. I like how it's like some people are like, we need these transfers now, and some people are like, we don't even need transfers. Like we really do have.
I think the people who
gamut
say
of replies.
we don't need transfers, I think they're just so fed up, man. I think they're
so
afraid
down. Yeah,
they don't trust the people to make the right transfers anymore. I think.
Of course. Which is logical to some extent, but then again, remember, we're trying to bring in people who do this professionally and who are going to take that responsibility away from Serdar Adali. So that's what we're hoping for.
If you believe what Serdar Adali has said, they are in already. If you believe what he's saying, it's just not been formally announced.
Sorry, what?
Yeah,
but
he
I
means
mean,
the scouts.
you have to, in order to trust somebody on their word, Kartal, they have to earn your trust first, and he hasn't earned.
The Cengiz Ünder thing really killed a lot of people's trust because it was like, okay, we'll believe that these scouts are kind of working in the background, but then suddenly it's like, wait a minute.
But there's a reason for that as well that you could use as well. You could say that no foreigners had left at that point, and he's a Turkish option.
I mean, Onana's been 24 hours now already, right?
Yeah, it's been 24 hours, but when the Ünder news came out, Onana was still a player.
But that doesn't matter. He's not a
foreigner.
Oh,
right. I mean, yeah, and anyway, it doesn't speak to any creativity on there. And I mean, that was a transfer which is apparently so unpopular with our fans that it's been cancelled before it was even made. So
yeah, that was
like
a presidential move, man. Where he probably just spoke to Harry Kush and said, "Look, we could give you this guy," and he probably said, "Yeah, it sounds okay. He's a talented player or whatever, you know, with albeit all the problems he has with his injuries and stuff like that." And then I think it was put out to the press to gauge the reaction, which obviously isn't a good thing to do. But for once, I can say it's good that they did listen to the fans and didn't go through with it.
Yeah, but Kartal, if you are promising from day one that we're gonna do things differently, we're gonna scout, we're bringing in world-class scouts and all of that stuff, how can you then? How can you, with a straight face, make that your first transfer?
Yeah, I know it's a scandal, man, and that's why I said I'm happy it didn't work out.
That's what I mean. That how can you trust these people? How can you trust his judgment anymore? He says one thing, but then I don't know, man. Like I completely lost all faith in him after that. After the Cengiz Ünder thing. Because that, to me, that just shows you that he's exactly the same as everyone that came before. That he doesn't have a vision.
Yeah, I agree, man. It was a very, very bad move, and it shows that he's just the same as the previous presidents. But let's just see who these foreigners are going to be. See if we sign Serginho and some exciting young left back or whatever, then you can start to say, there's a vision there that's clearly been used, but we need to wait and see, man. Also, we're a bit fed up with waiting, so it'd be nice if it was done soon.
It should.
Right, and we only have exactly 11
it would have.
days.
I mean, if we would have signed
what time it is exactly.
a player already that you can tell that's part of the vision, like for example Serginho, then I think right now everything would be fine, even if we only signed one player, because then people would have confidence in it. But the problem is that we haven't done shit. So
So here goes Alper. Jason actually mentions that. So yeah, Jason says Emirhan Topçu was a good transfer. So that's true. There's one. Alper. So this is where things get contentious. Khan, I'm expecting some replies from you. Alper says we have lost our identity. What we have to do is first be a team, then go on the pitch, then play football, then play good football, then win matches, then make winning matches the norm, and then you can say we want the best players. We'll be champions.
Nobody's saying we want the best
cannot
players.
Run.
Nobody's saying that. You need to.
Yeah, we just want players.
You need to be able to build a team that can do those things first. How are you gonna do that when we are like a chicken without a head? Like, we don't even have wingers. You have been seeing it the entire. It's like pulling teeth. Watching Beşiktaş is like pulling teeth. How can you say you expect those things? Which coach is gonna do that? Which coach is gonna turn this team into a team that can play decent football consistently? The only way,
with this talent,
the only way we can play consistently good football with the material we have is if we play teams that leave space in behind, that don't sit back and all that kind of stuff, and that don't press really well. Because these players, when you don't have options up top, you don't have anyone that can hold on to the ball. You can't the difference between us and for example Lugano and for example Twente yesterday and all the teams that have caused us problems with high press. The big difference is when we press them, they can send the long ball and they have a winger or they have a striker. They have people who can win the duel and create problems for us in that scenario. And our issue is when we are being put under pressure like yesterday, first and foremost, there's very little passing options in the midfield because both Jetson and Musrati don't really offer those solutions. And out wide, you don't have the solutions at all because our wingers are... Mucci is not a winger. And because Rasicka is a winger that cannot take on his man, that cannot get past his man, and that cannot outrun his man. There were multiple occasions yesterday where a half-decent long ball was sent towards Rasicka, and he gets both out-muscled and outpaced by their left back.
Wasn't just that, his passing was really bad as well. There were several times where he got the ball on the wing and then the next pass he made was really bad and we lost the ball that way.
And even when his pass wasn't bad, he was negative. He would turn back and kind of go for the easy option rather than trying to create something.
You are asking a coach to turn this chicken shit into a chicken salad. It's impossible. You need chicken meat and mayonnaise and some vegetables, not chicken shit. You can't make a good team out of this.
Yeah, that's a disgusting metaphor, but I agree. Where were we? Mustafa Gedik is back. Oh wait, sorry, no, Alper finished. You cannot run without crawling and walking first. If Mr. Adali is so dependent on player agent recommendations, why aren't we utilizing Ole's agent Solbakken, who basically knows all the players in the north? Good question. Mustafa Gedik says, I have just learned that at the end of the season, we are going to pay Benfica $2 million to make a new contract with João Mario. He's even angrier now.
Sorry, but that was known already at the beginning of the season. João Mario was a loan with obligation to buy. We did the same thing with Al Musrati last season. That is just a way to circumvent financial fair play. That is a way to put that $2 million on next year's books and not on this year's book. João Mario was always a permanent signing. I still don't understand that there's still people who didn't realize that, because that was communicated rather clearly by the club at the time. So, yeah.
Next, Mert says, what needs to be done is to create an actual academy mindset and bring up the youth following the same principle as the A team, so we can become like Ajax, Barcelona, and so forth. Yeah, again, it's hard because, like, what is the A team, right? Like, we've had, again, 9 managers in a year and a half. So, like, what system would they be recreating with the youths, right? Like, all 9 of them. Yeah. And this is. I mean, it speaks to the problem, like the core problem. Once that's solved, Mert continues, a future will follow, or at least breed a generation of future transfers to profit off of. Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. Again, right, Twente, you guys missed this when we did the lineups, but like the majority of their players are 23-year-old Dutch, right? Like they had clearly some sort of golden generation. They've clearly made some effort to bring up players of their own, or look for players of a certain age domestically, you know. And clearly, yes, that is a model that we could follow, actually. Certainly much better than whatever we've been doing, which is just fairly aimless. Mario says murder, Mert. Yes, 100%. Alper, I wonder what not following Gio to resign after the Göztepe game and then sacking him after he lost in the Maccabi game cost us. We already sort of discussed that. I guess Kanye mentioned that when I was wandering around when my dad got home. Mustafa Gadik says it has cost us a minimum of 4 million euros. I don't know how you came to that very specific financial number, but I'll take your word on it. I mean, why not?
1.3 million.
Maybe that's how much.
1.3 million for Gio, and how much is it? 2.5 for.
Oh, we're talking about the contracts
of
coaches and whatnot. I guess
4 million. Yeah, it's roughly correct. I think so.
I mean, I was thinking maybe he was thinking about like how much you got paid to play in the next round of the Europa League, because if we'd beaten Maccabi Tel Aviv, then we'd probably have been through. There's lots of ways maybe even more.
Gio was there, right? Gio, that was his last match, Maccabi. That's why he got sacked. Well.
Yeah, sure. No, but he's saying if he'd been sacked after Göztepe, right?
Well,
so
I mean, then we
if,
would
like,
have.
if we got your
then
coach
Serdar
bump
Toprak
before
would have been in
Maccabi.
charge, and what?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
as if that would have gone any better.
There's too many theoreticals. Or like, what if they'd resolved it and Gio had stayed, and then he went into that Maccabi game with more, like whatever went wrong hadn't gone wrong. I mean, again, it's all theoretical and speculation.
Let's not live in that world, that what if world, because it's just torturing yourself.
Yeah, we could do that for 4 years worth of decisions ultimately. What if we hadn't hired Valerian Ismail? Anyway, Alper, no matter what, the Maccabi match was on the government. Oh, that's
what if
Nasser.
Galatasaray honorary chairman didn't try to stage a coup in 2016? Then Mario Gomez would have stayed. And what then?
Oof, you're gonna get careful. You're gonna get a court order in a moment.
The country wouldn't have been sent into an economical crisis, a complete economical crisis. Beşiktaş would have not gone into an economical crisis in 2017, 2018. Fikret Orman might still be the president today.
What if COVID had been contained? Okay, anyway. Enough of this Marvel what-if business. Nasser, when do the new Bayern and Dortmund scouts start their roles? Nasser, my friend. Clearly, they're not going to start on Nauru's Independence Day. All I keep seeing on X are links between Beşiktaş and injury-prone, aging players. Something I really can't see Oleg going for Beşiktaş. First of all, Nasser, I want to say welcome to our fan base on so many levels. That last comment, there was. So when are we going to get this these scouts?
Right. So I've addressed this several times. According to Serdar they're working. He referred to them during the Ollie press conference. He said that Ollie, the scouts, and me are going to go and talk about the transfers. So going off what he said, they're working. The news is due to contractual issues with their previous employers. That's why they can't be announced formally.
So Nasser, first a little bit. I'm gonna. So initially, it was said they have like this. I think it was Edward Graaf supposedly had a contract in mid-February. Now, Murat Özen, who is supposedly a reliable source when it comes to Beşiktaş, he said the other day it was gonna be middle March, I think. So it's moved up a month. But as to your comment of the injury-prone players, are not the board that just left, but the board before that, they literally made a sport out of it, out of finding the most overpriced, injury-prone players and signing them. Oxlade-Chamberlain is a fantastic example of that. We've had.
Is this Ahmet Nur? You're talking about Ahmet Nur
exactly.
now, right?
It felt like if at a certain point, if a player didn't have at least one ACL injury in his career, he was not viable for Beşiktaş. He was not an option. Like they needed at least one MCL or ACL injury in their careers. Otherwise, Beşiktaş wouldn't even consider them. That is, or 2 boards ago, Ahmet Nur Çebi. That's the profile they went at. They that's the only thing that was important. They had to have 2 pages of injury history on Transfermarkt before Beşiktaş would consider them.
Time Time out. And Khan, we have to do a little history lesson too if we're going to go down that route. And you got to remember, there was a time when we would wait for every other country's transfer windows to close, so that we could see who they'd all sort of forgotten to sign, or like who had slipped in the crack, and then we would pounce on those people. And of course, those were always like the reason they'd made it that long is because they'd had some laundry list of injuries. And so this is the multi-year-long project that we've been doing now of just hiring
sometimes
people with injuries.
Sometimes signing a player with a bad injury history works out.
Rashid Ghazal won us the championship. He and Valentin Rosier, with the little overlapping play.
But
and that was one of those injury-prone decisions.
And for example, with Ox, have you heard that story, Nasser? Oxlade-Chamberlain, we denied being interested in him. He apparently bought his own airplane ticket to come to Beşiktaş to do medical tests. He bought his own airplane ticket, and initially they were saying, "Oh, he's gonna earn 1.5 million a year," and we were all like, "All right, okay, I guess that's worth taking a punt on." Turns out he makes 3 million a year. 3 million a year. They signed this guy for 3 million a year. And of course, after he started playing,
and now we're waiting for like Brentford to put in a bid, like some championship side. Please take
this guy is sitting in Turkey, and he's of course thinking, I could go back home to England to play for 800k in the championship, to be with my wife and my kid, but I'd leave 4 million euros on the table.
Or I could get paid 4 million euros to eat some lahmacun and friggin', enjoy the Bosphorus.
I don't blame Ox, by the way. It's our stupid fucking club.
I would. Who doesn't take that?
Who gives those types of contracts? Like, this is literally a player who is begging you to sign him because other clubs won't take the risk, and you still give him one of the best contracts of his career.
Yeah. Yep. And the joke, by the way, Nasser, about so when do these Bayern and Dortmund scouts start? So originally, we were told that because it was the holiday season, it was a few days before Christmas, we were going to wait till because naturally, right? These guys need to spend time with their families during the holidays or whatever. So we're like, oh, they'll be here the day after Christmas, and then it was like, oh no, surely, we misspoke. Of course, we meant after New Year's. New Year's, big holiday all around the world. And so then we waited for New Year's. And so then I kept making the joke. I kept looking up all these holidays from around the world to explain. Like it was I think Tuvalu had an Independence Day the day after that. It's like, oh, that's clearly why he can't come today, because it's Independence Day. And so now I think it's the Independence Day of Nauru. We'll see what tomorrow's holidays are. I'm sure it'll still be
during the presidential campaign. There was a month of campaigning, because to be the president of Beşiktaş in Turkey, it's a pretty big deal. So there was a month of campaigning from both candidates, include the current president Serdar Adalı, who ended up winning, and then the other candidate Hüseyin Yücel, who was the vice president of the previous board. And during this campaign, they actually had a head-to-head debate on television. And the guy who won, Serdar Adalı, didn't make the best impression in that head-to-head debate, because he was caught making some really stupid remarks and clearly not knowing Turkish law and stuff like that, because the other guy was pointing out, for example, one of the arguments he made is, why didn't you refinance the debt back into foreign currency? And the other guy had to point out to him, well, Mr. Adalı, that is not allowed according to Turkish law, because you can't convert debt in lira to foreign currency to protect. That is a law instituted by the government to protect the lira. And he made such a bad head-to-head debate that the day after he scrambled and he started making promises like, I am going to bring in a world-class scouting team, and he was describing what this team was gonna have, what kind of a function it was gonna have, and it basically came down to a sporting director.
They're coming from Germany. They're not German.
Yeah,
but they're coming from Germany.
Said that they're coming from Germany, but he's not German. Turns out he is German. All that kind of stuff.
And there's more than one, and they're both very German, in fact.
And anyway, long story short, the whole scouting thing, that seemed to be him scrambling because he knew he was losing the public opinion. So he had to start making some promises that sounded like he actually had a decent plan. And because Beşiktaş fans, we are all hipsters, we all want a club that is run properly with scouting and all that kind of fancy shit that is not thinkable in Turkey, because in Turkey you can only sign players if they're offered to you on a silver platter by an agent who is going to make millions on the deal. That is the only way to do business in Turkish football. Anyway, a lot of our fans, of course, fell for it. And now, of course, he has to make good on that. But the problem is that we still don't know 100% if they are actually working. Because Kartal says now a few times already, he has said it, they're working already, and it's been referred to at the press conference and the presentation of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But we still don't know 100%. We still haven't seen these people. They haven't been presented. We haven't seen any results of their work. So, yeah. Right now, I am of the opinion Sedel Adale has to earn trust. He isn't just gonna get it given to him. So I need to see some proof first before I believe it. That they're actually working. Because it's like a soap opera. It's really ridiculous.
Agreed.
Let's continue with the chat.
Comments. Yeah, Alper. Adali needs to speak the fuck up, by the way. Where are the scouts, the sponsorships, etc.? Like, he couldn't do anything about the Twente game. He should use that opportunity to shit on Arad and get some support.
Oh, can we stop with that? With the shitting on Arad? Can he he is the president now. He needs to stop talking about the past. He needs to start acting and
move on. Especially if you're going to make the same mistakes as that, which... Nasser says, I completely agree with Khan on Maccabi and UEFA's corruption. They shouldn't be allowed in European competitions. Yeah, Nasser, we've been banging on that drum for a long time. It's whatever. Alper, yeah, that's true, but UEFA is UEFA, and they don't have any responsibility to care about us. The government does have that responsibility, and they do the only thing they shouldn't do. Sure, but UEFA is supposed to be not arbitrary, sorry, the opposite of arbitrary. They're supposed to be consistent in applying the rules to all the clubs universally.
But
and so I think that's kind of where we're
struggling or Galatasaray, the government isn't gonna do shit for you. Or Trabzonspor. Trabzonspor, because big AKP representation there, so they get shit done too. But let's be honest, if Galatasaray were playing Maccabi, 100% that game would be played at Turkey, and there would be fans. 100%.
Yeah. Hard to argue that, yeah. Jason said Kazakhstan's also far from Europe, to be fair. I don't really know what that's in relation to. Opposite. All fair points that I completely agree with, but doesn't change the fact that our own betrayed us. Yeah, well, nobody's disagreeing with that. Nasser, much respect to Khan for speaking out against the genocide. If more people showed integrity and humanity, the world would be a much better place. Yes, indeed. We don't want to politicize the podcast too much, but it's safe to say that the three of us are all on the same side of this issue.
If you would just learn from history, then I think that would be enough. Imagine.
Yeah, ideally, if just a few more people than could learn from history. Anyway, Alper, the guy with the deep voice in the interviews. Don't know what that's in relation to. Probably some.
Mert,
you guys were talking about journalists earlier.
The press officer. I forget his name again, but yeah.
Then
that's Mert.
Then Alper says, I don't even.
Mert Kozoglu. Mert Kozoglu.
The guy with the deep voice. Okay, I don't even want. This is Alper. I don't even want any new transfers. Just send Masu, Imo, Rashid, etc. We've already touched on that enough. Alper again. I think we already
disagree, kind of Alper. Let's call it that, bro.
Yeah, we
appreciate you tuning in
and being
with super active in the chat and giving us some stuff to talk about, but I don't think we're gonna agree.
Yeah, keep it coming though. Yeah, Nasser, that's the sad reality of football nowadays. It's become more of a business than football. Yes, Yes. We've talked about that a lot during this election season and how shitty that's become. Alper, again, he should have continued shitting on Yücel and Arat. You've got to have a good propaganda machine to be a good chairman. It's got to be more than just propaganda. I think we can both agree out there. A little propaganda can go a long way, but like, you need action.
If he does his job, Alper, that in its own is shitting on Arat and shitting on Chebi and shitting on everyone who come before. If he does a good job, he shouldn't have to talk about the previous administration, because him doing a good job, the success would be enough. The fact that
success is the best form of propaganda, right?
Yeah,
Winning.
The fact that he would have to, that you imply that he would have to shit on the previous administration means that he's just covering up for his own shit. Because if he's doing a good job, he doesn't need to do that.
Yeah,
so
he should be more focused. Like, there should be enough to focus on with like transfers.
We are all in
club administration.
Big trouble if he starts shitting on Arat again, because that means he has no clue how to fix shit.
Yeah, and he's not focused on the task at hand, even more so.
He's done enough of that anyway during the month of campaigning. He's done enough of it already. Now it's time to put his words to action and to show that he can do a better job. Because right now, he's not proving anything like that. Do you guys see my microphone in the camera, by the way?
Now it's funny. I couldn't until you asked, and then you like touched it because it's doing like the green screen. I see the stadium behind you.
Okay.
It's not registering. Continuing though. Jason says football fans are stakeholders, not customers. Ideally. Nasser, that's the sad reality of football. It's become. Oh, we already did that. Alper says you can't beat the human eye. Data can only be supported.
I agree with that.
Whatever you prioritize, you need both. You definitely need both.
When you're a smaller club, you can afford to just work purely on data, because you're dealing with smaller transfer fees usually anyway, and you can afford to fuck up a little bit. But I think as a big club like Beşiktaş, you can have really good data as a player, but that doesn't mean that you're a big team player. You need a scout. Because usually what scouts don't just watch players. They are usually also people, especially when it comes to younger players, who meet the player, who meet the parents. And a good scout tries to learn what type of a human being the player is as well. And that is something you cannot do with data scouting.
Yes. But you'll agree, Conor. I think you need a little bit of both, because as Jason says, the eye test can also be misleading. So you need to be intrigued by the eye test, but then also back that up with a little data. I think that's what Alper is saying, right?
You need both, and I agree with that.
Yeah. You need a little both. You can't just rely on data, but I'm not sure if anyone is solely.
I don't know about Brighton, but I think Midtjylland do almost 100% data scouting.
And again, I'm assuming that they get a certain amount of data, and then they're like, all right, here's a player on our radar, and then they probably watch him a little bit before they pull the trigger. You hope for their own sake, but I guess whatever. That's a them problem.
Related, and they have had a lot of success with it.
Continuing on, Jason, I love how these streams are so chat driven now. Yes, we agree. Jason says we're like a penguin, completely underdeveloped in the wing. Jason, this is dangerously close to pun territory. Again, you do not have the license to make father jokes, and I'm going to put you on a yellow card. You got a red card last week. It's a yellow card for your little penguin joke there. No wings. Haha, I got it. You could have said turkey, too, if you were going to play games. Nasser, got to appreciate how chat-driven the stream is right now. Once they blow up, it'll be much harder to keep up with the chat. But here's my promise to you, Nasser. We'll keep it up. Alper, we need a plan.
That's a tall
even
order,
if it's the worst plan, we need to have a plan.
If we start getting thousands of comments,
we'll do the best we can, I say.
I don't know.
I'm sticking to it.
How the whole super chat thing works. I think you can.
Yeah, maybe we're gonna have to institute super chats.
We'll see.
You folks are gonna have to spend some money to get. No, I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
What we can always do is let people who are in the community chat ask questions beforehand, and then we can.
Yeah, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you
like
get your
that.
questions.
Yeah, we can always do something like that. We'll figure something out.
I mean, since we read your names after every episode, I'll also be able to identify your names. So I'll if you comment, I'll keep any Patreon subscribers. You're gonna get.
I think
the direct link to the podcast.
I think once we unlock the membership option, I think we are able to give members of the channel badges, and it makes it easier to spot their comments and read their comments.
I don't know what to make of this last
But
comment. I didn't really understand it, John.
I don't know if I want to do the whole membership thing on YouTube though, because we have Patreon already. So I don't know how that works exactly. I'll have to look.
Double it up. Yeah.
Oh,
Be a
what
double
was that?
subscriber. Imagine the perk. Imagine the perks. No,
I
I'm
just
kidding.
drank a mystery.
There we go. Well, hopefully it wasn't from like
What was
yesterday or like last week.
No,
that
it
meant.
wasn't. But I think I got some tea leaves stuck in my throat now.
By the way, if anyone wants to, I'll do the like if Mario. I'm not gonna show the whole label, but if anyone wants to guess what this beer is, since you were so detective-like with the last one, I'll show you that much of the label, and then someone can tell me what beer it is. If you guess correctly, I'm not gonna give you anything, but I'll give you some applause. Continuing, Nasser noticed a lot of long balls, which Ola mentioned he doesn't like.
Yeah.
At Man United, his team's ranked 19th for long balls. Only Man City had fewer. He prefers direct football. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, but that was pure ineptitude from our players. That wasn't a tactical choice. You could tell they just could not find a way out from under the pressure. By the way, guys, I'm just gonna show this now because you can already get this on cartaljuvas.eu. But here's the fancy basketball shirt that Sinan is wearing. You can order that on cartaljuvas.eu. No kickbacks to us, but, support the club. Here's some other ones.
I'm a more realistic model for it, I'm not, this is what you might actually look like since you're probably not going to wear it with anything underneath.
So
cartaljuvas.eu
is what it's called.
EU.
I'll write it in the chat for those of you interested.
By the way, poor Cartel's been silent for like an hour.
He can interject when he wants.
Let's go home. I'm continuing. I skipped one. Alper said that the average fan wants a fancy spoiler and a lowered suspension. Talking about the car metaphor. I'm not even going to mention Jason because you're already on thin ice with your puns. Alper said that we know the average fan still wants Messi, Ronaldo, etc. So that's what he meant by the whole big transfer thing that we were rebutting earlier. Yeah, but forget the average fan.
I think we have a lot of fans that want young, hungry players. I really do.
I think so too. Now I think that method of doing things has fallen apart.
You're always gonna have
fans
who want Rashford and who want, Casemiro and who want, when they see those names in the media who want that. You're always gonna have those people that believe Fanatic, that believe Photomatch, that believe those, what were you calling them earlier, Sinan? Shit peddlers or what is it?
BS merchants.
Exactly. So you're always gonna have people who believe those things and who want those things. But I think a very large percentage of the fan base knows that we cannot compete with Galatasaray and Fenerbahce when it comes to spending money on big names. They know that we have to go for young and hungry talent, and they also know Galatasaray got knocked out by Young Boys, guys. This is a team that finished bottom of the Champions League with 0 points, minus 21 goal differential, and they eliminated Galatasaray. They beat them in both legs. Last season, Copenhagen, fuck Galatasaray. Sparta Prague, fuck Galatasaray. Look at Fenerbahce in the Europa League this season. They got beaten by AZ and stuff like that. So, these are not. Despite of all the money they spent, despite of all the big names they sign, if you have a good transfer policy, you have a good coach with a good footballing philosophy, and you bring in young and hungry players that can execute that philosophy, we can beat these guys. And we can make a lot of money doing so by developing players. All you need is a good properly run, professionally run football branch, and that is hopefully what we're working toward right now. But it's not very inspiring when your president is selling you a bunch of white lies all the time. Of course. Let's hope. Let's hope.
Alper says we need a natural disaster to get rid of João Mario. He doesn't even have a name, prestige advantage like Immobile, so we can't sell him to the Arab. Yeah, debatable. He says a random number generator could manage the club better than Arat if you hooked odd numbers to yes and even numbers to no. Who makes a contract that ends in March? Whose contract ends in March?
I think they were talking about the scout, German
Yeah.
scout.
Well, that's a German. At least that's not us. That's his former German
that story
club, right?
does not add up. That does not add up. He has a contract until the end of the season, as far as I know.
You'd have to imagine.
I don't know.
And we probably have to pay something to end it sooner.
What exactly is going on there? I don't know. Edward Graaf.
We've heard a million different stories too.
He was dismissed of his position as chief scout back in November, and he has essentially, I think, been put on non-active, but is still being paid out his contract. So I don't exactly know. I talked about it in one of our recent VIP Patreon VIP podcasts, and I read the statement out on that podcast. I don't remember the exact wording of it, but he was dismissed from his position as chief scout of Dortmund in November because there were some they didn't see things the same way. I guess there were some conflicts with the sporting director and stuff like that. Like they didn't share the same vision. But worth pointing out that Edward Graaf, 35 years old only, but working 11 years already for Dortmund. So it's not like he is inexperienced or anything like that. He worked his way up the ladder. He started off as a junior scout and he worked his way all the way up to chief scout. So, yeah.
That's impressive. Continuing on, we've got Nasser. Beşiktaş drained the life out of Kartal. We need to get our boy smiling again. Alper says, we spent 10 million on Batyar and Onana and then signed Bailly. Chebby refused to pay 5 million to Isaac, Hien, and Davinson. What the fuck is bro thinking? Yeah, I mean, at least in regards to Onana, he's always, for some reason, had interest from other clubs.
Yeah, but
I don't know how.
Sinan, he's now been loaned, and apparently his option to buy is 1.2 million. We paid...
Whoa, I read something else. I thought it was like 4 point something.
We paid 4 million for him last summer, and now we loaned him, apparently, according to Italian sources, with an option for 1.2 million. I mean, I hope the cap, when the cap announcement comes, that's a different number. But if 1.2 million is true, it's pretty depressing. And yeah, I think that's one of those big issues with us. We have been cheaping out for so many years on signings. You end up signing guys like Eric Bailly. You sign him for free, but you pay him a decent wage. You know, you sign Onana, you sign Bakhtiar. Meanwhile, if you take the money you paid on Bakhtiar and on Onana, that's 8.5 million. Add, what is it, 500,000 to that? You could have signed Davinson Sanchez. That's one of the few players from Galatasaray that I would take right now in a heartbeat. So, you know, that's also the Beşiktaş thing. Like, it's fine to pay less for players if they're talented and if you believe in them. But both Onana and Bakhtiar, I mean, I like Bakhtiar, but we overpaid. He's not a 4.5 million player, let's be honest. Onana is not a 4 million player either. These are players we should have paid maximum 2.5 million for. And even then, I think people would be complaining that you paid 5 million for them combined. But 4 and 4.5 million,
Probably.
I mean, if you go and you sign a guy like Serginho and a guy like Emil Breivik and guys like that, and they don't work out, okay. But at least then you can say, yeah, these were top players in their respective leagues and for their teams. Emil Breivik is one of the best midfielders in Norway for one of the biggest teams in Norway. And Serginho is arguably one of the best wingers in the Danish league. you can't say Bakhtiar was an elite player even in Russia. And what is the Russian league nowadays? All the good players went away. So, you know, and Onana was just a bit player in a mid-table French team, and yeah, I don't know, man. Sometimes it's better to spend big if you're certain, but if you're spending 4.5 million, I still think you need to be certain. You can't spend that money on players like that, man. It's just bad planning.
And yet, I'm still inclined to feel that like the worst examples are the older players who are injury prone, who like you know for sure they're getting no resale out of, right? Because like you buy someone who's younger at a rate like that, your hope is that they're going to play and you're going to make some money off of them in a few years. At least there's some forward thinking in that regard. But I mean, anyway, just lots of bad decisions made by the board. Yeah. Nasser, here, Cartel. This is a question for you. I mean, it's not, but
I don't think
we'll make
Kettle,
it for you. Are the board members?
Kettle is still here. He just took a picture and he put it up on his camera, and he's been or a video because he moves occasionally.
Yeah, it's like on repeat. Cartel, for you.
Yeah.
Are the board members who signed those injury-prone players still at the club, or have they left? Same problem as Man U, handing out ridiculous wages to players and now struggling to offload them.
So essentially, Nasser, how our boards work is when a board leaves, like when the president leaves, the board leaves as well. If like the board will resign together normally, unless it's like Hassan Aratu just resigned himself.
It's like a government essentially. So if the government falls, all the ministers are gone.
Yeah, exactly. So when you go to an election, you're not just voting for the candidate, you're also voting for the list of board members that they've created as well. So essentially, every time there's an election, it's like a new cabinet and like what a government would be. So it's a new president and new board members as well. That the president thinks are going to be the right people to steer the club in the direction they want to steer it in. So no, it's not the same board. The board has actually changed twice in the last year and a bit. So we've had actually a few different boards, and this current board is yet to sign any injury-prone players. We almost were signing an injury-prone player in Cengiz Ünder, but we haven't signed one yet.
It's worth mentioning, however, I'm still here, by the way, folks. I don't know if you can see me feeding the cats in the corner. No, the camera cut me out. We have had some people from previous boards stick around through various transitions, and Serdal Adali is ironically one of them. Who's sort of like, so there is a kind of like too big to fail. These individuals who are so well-known institutionally or whatever it is that they kind of stick around with the club for a few different boards. And so Serdal Adali was one of them. Actually, Hussein Yücel, who was running against him in the last election, was also one of those guys. But yeah, typically these guys, what they said is correct. That when one of these dudes is out, their whole team is out with them. Look at that. Khan has put up a little image over there for himself, taking a break. We'll be back soon. Wow. Little break for Khan over there, I guess. Continuing on. Nasser, so Cartal, I'll keep putting the questions to you, since you poor guys listening to all this nonsense from us. Listening to you guys explain Beşiktaş's issues honestly reminds me of Man U and how poorly both clubs are run. Ole clearly doesn't like an easy life or job. I guess that wasn't a question. Next one for you then, Cartal. Beşiktaş is some new commenter, EXO-L88. Exile? I don't know. Beşiktaş will be a club that players come to just make money in spite of being chronically injured. That's long been the case. Here's one for you, Cartel, though. Do you think we should sell Semi?
Yes, I do. Yeah, if we get a good offer, we should sell him. If the offer's not good, no, but if we get any offer from like 15 million plus, I'd sell him, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. Yeah, I think you're kind of at a point where it's like you need players who you can kind of guarantee can contribute, and he's not one of those guys. So if you can get a lot of money for him and then bring in like 4 players who you know can contribute, that's a net positive.
There was a position where his head was down again, and he just went into a crowd of players. If he actually lifted his head, he could have found an easy pass to Rafa.
Kind of classic
I
semi-issue
really feel like I
isn't
should upload my my watch along because I remember that position and I literally said that. And the worst part is that his first control was really good. Like he won the ball, he brought it down, and then he just looks down and he turns straight into a forest of legs. And I was just sitting there like, oh my god, Simi, what are you doing, boy? Yeah, and I
it is like systemic
although
too,
I would
right?
set I would set the bar a little bit higher. He is still only a 19-year-old player.
20 million.
I think 20 million. You should be able to get at least 20 million for him. I mean,
yeah,
he's still an elite talent, and he's only 19 years old.
Great. Yeah,
it's not showing any. We saw that elite talent for a few months last year, but we've not seen it at all this year. Let's be honest.
We've seen glimpses, but yeah.
If he keeps playing like this, we're not going to get 20 million for him.
I'm trying to think of an.
If you see the money that the English clubs are paying for players, we should at least get 20 for him, man.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Given the inflation over there. Continuing on, Alpha says, yeah, but in order to do anything right now, he needs some support. I don't know who he is. Probably Solskjaer, which clearly he would need some support. Although Alpha said he shouldn't bring in transfers, so I don't know how he'd get support without those. Maybe he's talking about someone else. Nasser says, Serdar was head of operations in 2010. Vice President in 2010 and 2018, and is now President. What exactly did he achieve during his previous terms?
So
that's a great question, Nasser. So Cartel said earlier that he's the guy who kind of famously brought in Quaresma. Go ahead,
Cartel.
Cartel.
I'll say though is the time periods that Nasser's listed just aren't true. He didn't work at the club that long.
No, he was.
He only worked there like a year and a half at a time. He was the second president and head of the football branch between the 2nd of February 2010 and the 24th of December 2011. And then after that, he was the second president between the 7th of September 2018 and the 20th of October 2019. So it was only like almost 2 years at the first stint, and then the second stint was a year, just over a year exactly. So he didn't really work for that long, but obviously famously brought Ricardo Quaresma, who's a club legend for us. At that time, the team wasn't successful. He was also brought in other big names such as Simão Sabrosa, Guti Hernandez, and then
Almeida.
There was kind of he wasn't. It's not a big name, bro. They're not big names. I was talking about the big names more. Almeida and Fernandez, I think, were more kind of. Almeida did have a. They were talents, but they weren't like marquee names, really.
He was a good player in the Bundesliga for Werder Bremen.
Yeah, he was.
Hugo, yeah.
More marquee, but like,
he wasn't a talent anymore. He was 26, 27, I think.
You had three kind of big stars in Quaresma, Simão, Guti, Hernandez, and then those 2 other good players they brought in, Almeida and Fernandez. Yeah. I wouldn't call them not quite star level, but good players as well.
Don't forget Julio Alves.
Yeah. I think Fernandez, to be honest, did become a bit of a star for us. For me, anyway.
He was our best player for.
Oh, Manuel,
he was
our
best player for 2 years, I think, after Quaresma left.
What Cartel kindly
so that's what he done.
Ignored to mention is that he was the vice president under one of the historically worst presidents in our club's history.
What?
Wasn't he under Yildirim Demirören?
Yeah, that was in 2010, but yeah, I thought you were going to talk about. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To be honest, but like, see, talking about that under Demirören, like I think most of the damage had probably already been done at that point. because he came in 2010.
No,
Maybe
that's
then
not
it already.
Yeah, sure, but
Maybe
Cartel, let me put it
then
this way. Cartel, let me put it this way.
Sorry.
How do people look at people who worked under like Hitler's administration? You know what I mean? Like maybe you're not responsible for the Holocaust, but you're still being tainted by
Yeah, it's
association.
obviously.
And I think you have to apply that to Yildirim Demirören. The amount of debt. I mean, the fact that we're in debt at all, but also to the extent that we're in it, is entirely on him. And you can't overlook. I mean, it's not like he was just like a guy on his board. He was his vice president, right? Like he was very favored by the main villain in Beşiktaş's last. You could probably argue history, but at least the last 25 years worth of history.
If I'm not
now.
mistaken, it's while Selim Adala was there, and part to finance those moves you were talking about earlier, Cartel. Carlito broke that down recently for us in an episode right before the elections. That cost the club those transfers, and that might not sound like a lot to Nasser because he's a Manchester United fan, but back in 2010 and even now, 64 million euros for Quaresma, Simão, Hugo Almeida and Fernandes and Julio Alves. That cost the club 64 million euros spread over wages, agent fees, all that kind of stuff. And it's in that period that Beşiktaş signed one of their first really big bank loans on high interest rates, $75 million with DenizBank. And I think that was made to finance those deals. So he definitely, that definitely was a big part of the damage, and Adala was there for it.
I think there was a lot of very bad moves before that, man.
Yes, but those really bad moves didn't cost this much.
Cartel, we're a club that's made a ton of bad moves that we could
obviously,
but only a few of those were like impactful that they've set us back.
Era was literally you'd sign like 20 guys every summer, and then you'd release half of them like the next year, or something, even by Christmas.
But the guys you mentioned on their own cost like half of the total debt that was created under Demirören, or like
of course
40% of the debt.
He's culpable in some of it as well, or 40%, you could argue.
Or 40%, whatever, but a significant percentage.
I mean, like, and they didn't generate league success either. What I will say is we did win one Turkish Cup, and at least we were competitive in Europe in those years. We were getting to the knockouts.
All I'll say, Cartel, is that all you need is a photo with Jeffrey Epstein, and your life is like in question. And this man was nominated vice president by this criminal that's in question. So whatever. I'm not willing to give a pass on anyone who would sort of willingly work that closely with someone who did as much damage as he did. But let's move on, because this is like beyond past tense. Nasser, I think we did that. Alper, if things continue to go like this, he's finished regardless of anything he does. He'll be the scapegoat. Yeah, that's probably the case with Adala, especially if he does nothing.
Well, I said this during the whole period, the election period, that our fans will forget already and move on to the next president. And if you don't bring a modicum of success straight away, then you're already getting written off. And with modicum of success, I don't necessarily mean success on the pitch even, but like if you can't bring in some good players to start building, then you are immediately culpable, I think. Mr. Schwarting. Ooh, got Mr. comments.
Yeah, I like that. No, but it was good for. I like the formality of that. First of all, so we've got John Wolf. That match selecting group should be diverged in Beşiktaş. I don't know what that means. Nasser, in his 3 years away, it was reported Ole visited many clubs and he worked as a UEFA analyst. He likely scouted players and may have recommended some to Beşiktaş, and the chief scout of Molde joined. Let's hope. Alper, by the way, the Black Eagles, I think it was Khan who wrote www.kartaljuvasa.eu, and that's actually the answer to your most recent question, Ufunfu. Mr. Schwarting, you wear a nice shirt. What is it? This is, in fact, Beşiktaş's basketball jersey. Here's Khan putting it up on the Kartal Uvasa website. You can take a look at it. This guy's modeling it a little better than I am. A little, it's slightly better shaped than I am. Just a little. Yeah, I'm a couple weeks of exercise away from. No, I'm joking. But yeah, there it is. Go to carteljuventus.eu. You can get this jersey up there. It should still be available. I guess it must be since Khan's got it up on the screen. Continuing on Alper, I could run a 105-meter pitch faster than Casemiro. Who the fuck wants Casemiro? Might be the slowest active football player. Not to mention the softest, pillowiest, most punchable face in all of professional football. That's worth noting. John Wolf, what do you think about Mario? This is for you, Cartel. What do you think about Mario, Masu, and Musrati? I don't know in what context, if this is just as players who need to be sold. Yeah. John Wolf, we need some more information. But what do you think in general, Cartel?
João Mario has been a complete disaster of a signing. Unfortunately, I think he's probably going to be with us for the duration of his contract. Unfortunately, because I don't really see any takers coming for him. Is that a 2 or 3 year deal he's got, Karen? It's 3 years, isn't it?
2+1.
It's a 2+1, I think.
2+1. So we're at least stuck with him for 2 years, which is quite sad, man, because it's just not worked out at all. Masuaku, man, to be honest, I was a big fan of Masuaku's first season. Last year he was not reliable, he was injured a lot. This year, too many mistakes, man. It's time to go. He's cost us too much in too many games. But even last night, look, you can see this guy when he wants to, he can perform. He was the best player for us yesterday.
He's been good every match under Solskjaer, which is granted 3 matches, and he's been terrible every other match.
Musrati, I'm a huge fan of Musrati's passing game, man. I love his diagonal balls to the wings, how he can like start attacks like from like kind of the halfway line or just before the halfway line. He starts attacks from there. Can be a very exciting player to watch because of those passes, but I think he's had too many mistakes in him as well throughout his Beşiktaş career, and I think that's kind of tainted his relationship with the fans too much. And he does have a weakness in terms of like duels and stuff like that. So as much as I like Musrati, I think in an ideal world we should probably, if we can sell him and get someone else in, just because.
Probably not this window though. You'd agree?
Not this window in the summer, I'd say, unless a good offer comes in now. But I think as much as I like Musrati, I mean, look, even that game last week, the Bilbao game, Musrati started the attack for 2 of the goals. But he's had too many mistakes in him. Physically, I think he's not up to it in terms of like winning the duels and stuff like that. The relationship with the fans is kind of it's too damaged, I think. So I would sell Musrati if there was a good offer.
Needs to be a good offer, yeah.
Imagine he scored that goal.
You can't sell Musrati for less than 10 million, I think. You need to if you get like a 5 or 6 million offer, I think you keep him. You have to keep him. I think he also works well with the football Ole Gunnar wants to play, other than the press maybe, but
yeah,
that's true. And I think again, you consider the changes that we need to make. Right, we're not in a position like to create that hole in our tactic at the moment. Just given that we have holes.
It's funny to see like there's all these like journalists talking shit about Musrati, like Fred Gunnayer was talking shit about him. Hakan Gündoğan was talking shit about him, and there was one comment I found was really funny. Hakan Gündoğan says that he slows down the team. If anything, Musrati is the player that speeds up the team the most.
He gets it forward fast.
He's the player that plays fast. He's very, very quick making his decisions. He's physically slow.
Yeah.
See, if you say, "Oh, he's slow," his dual stats aren't good, that's a fair criticism. But to say and is a handbrake, that's bullshit. The guy's actually the player that speeds the team up the most. Why? Because he's got very good, accurate forward passes that starts attacks, and he thinks very quickly all the time.
Yeah, that's very true. You saw it yesterday as well. There was a certain point where we had where Musrati played a really good pass out to the right, which could have resulted in a dangerous attack, but it ended up between Rasicka passing it back to Svensson passing it back to the middle, and of course at that point all the Twente players had returned and retaken position. But Musrati is not the player that slows down the team. He might be a little sluggish sometimes, 100% agree with that, but his passing, like Kakla points out, like he's the best passer in the team, I think, easily.
Yeah,
I liked him, and then my like for him sort of diminished. It lulled for a bit, but it's kind of back up. I feel like he's been consistently making nice passes. I mentioned in the Antalya match that like he's the one that showed me how bad Rashica was, because he made so many nice balls for Rashica to come on to that Rashica just did nothing with. That it was so apparent that
Actually,
like that's kind of the problem. It's not getting the ball up to our wingers. It's just we don't have any wingers who then do anything with it.
see if you actually look at the Antalya game as well, his dual stats were actually really good in that game for once.
Yeah.
That's normally his weakness, but
He was solid,
in
man.
terms of slugging,
He's been
you can't
better. He had a really bad period
Yeah.
this season, but since Ole Gunnar has been here, he has been a lot better. And also something that has stood out to me, I think Solskjaer at least likes him, because if you remember, Serdar Topraktepe was putting him on the bench a lot and playing Sali instead. And so far, the 3 matches that Ole Gunnar has been in charge, Musrati has played every single game, and I think he finished. No, he didn't. I think he finished every game. And I think, Serdar played him in the last match against Samsun and took him out.
Even though he was our best player at that point.
And maybe, I don't know if he was our best player, but he was very important. And I think Solskjaer likes him a lot more. I think Serdar was kind of dancing to the whims of the public and kind of dancing to the whims of the media. And that's why he was putting Sali in the team and putting Musrati on the bench. But Sali Uchan, for me, he's part of the problem. He needs to go.
Yeah, Sali Chan was terrible yesterday, by the way. Anyway.
That's not even. I don't even blame him for that. It's just he doesn't train well. He's lazy.
No, I mean I only mentioned that because that was our most recent.
Yeah, I mean,
our most recent viewing of him was just despicable. He was. It was bad because you kind of knew you needed some energy from that position, and he came in and you thought, oh, maybe we'll get one of those, 1 in 4 or 5 good games that he gives us, and it was the opposite. It was just a complete waste man. Anyway, Jason. Oh, sorry, Alper. I don't want to skip. Yeah, Alper says it's better if he has a 1.2 million option. Talking about Onana than a 4.9, because no one on this planet will give 4.9. Yeah, probably, unless he's so good. Jason says Lens, where we bought Onana from. Oh, I'll see Lens. I thought he was talking about Jermaine Lens. Where we bought Onana from finished 4th this season before he joined us. Not mid-table. Oh, so he's not. Oh, they're rebutting you. Neymar took himself out of the game. Exactly.
Hopefully.
And we're all left to rue what we missed out on. And we've seen so little. Let's be honest. We've seen so little of him. Yeah, playing regularly and. Anyway, Ufunfu says, Semi, max 5 million. I'm not sure if you mean that we could get a max 5 million now, given how poor he's been this year, or if you feel like that's as much as you'd take in order to sell him. If it's the latter, I think that's silly, Ufunfu, but if it's the former, maybe. Yeah, he probably hasn't earned the 20 mil that Khan said we need to get rid of him, or 15 that Kartal said. So either way, he's probably not leaving. Yeah, that's for sure. Where were we? Khan, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So that's on the club as well. I think last summer we could have easily gotten 20 for him. Now not so, maybe not. But I think that's also a lot on the club, because we as fans, we can only judge what we see on the pitch. And last season, the majority of what we saw was really, really good from Simi. But this season, I think you see that he has a lot of work. And I think the people behind the scenes know exactly what they have with Simi. They know what he has, what he doesn't have, what he lacks, what he needs to improve, and they know whether or not he is somebody that's going to work hard to improve. And if they...
Following up, John Wolf says, Semi has a lot to learn, but as long as he goes on playing this selfish, I think he won't be able to get even 20 mil for the club.
Yeah, he is, I think he has some... I think he needs to buckle down and work really, really hard. And I think if the club has identified in him an inability to do so, then they should try to get the most amount out of him and move on.
It's all up to Solskjaer. It's all up to Solskjaer. If he feels like he can develop him and get something out of him, then I trust him. Because it's all really about what he sees on the training
yesterday.
Pitch. Like that's where the question marks
for
remain.
Ciro at halftime, I was really hoping to see a good performance from Simi, but
I thought his physicality could be useful. His ability
he
to
was.
I
thought he was better than Ciro, but it was still Simi. It was still head down. One of the biggest.
You mentioned him running into a crowd.
One of the biggest gripes I have with Simi is that he completely loses oversight. He has no eye for his teammates. He only wants to go to goal himself. I don't even know if you can call it selfish. At this, that's beyond selfish.
It's kind of stupid, right? Because if he was that, like, there's a part of being selfish, which is you're gonna do the best you can, so that because it's like you want to look as good as possible, right? And like, he's even hurting his own. I mean, yeah. Anyway, I think we're gonna both disagree with this. Alper says current Immobile can't even beat Almeida, to be honest. And the reason I'm gonna disagree with you, Alper, is that I think Almeida's best season, he scored as many goals as Ciro Immobile already has in half of a season, if I'm not mistaken.
But Almeida had presence. Almeida offered a lot more to the team, I think. And when Ciro isn't scoring goals, Ciro doesn't offer much.
Yeah.
But I guess the Ciro that we had from the very beginning of the season,
but the Ciro we have had
contributing those
the last couple of months.
But also Almeida had players who could provide the ball on a platter for him,
of course,
right?
Of course. The
problem has had all of zero wingers. The
problem with the striker like Almeida is useful even when he's not scoring goals. And I think Ciro, he needs to score,
like weighing on the
because
defense.
Otherwise, he doesn't offer enough. Especially not at 34, 35.
I mean, he did. Early on in the year, he was doing a pretty good job of with his back to the goal, bringing the ball down and like distributing. But even that's kind of slowed down, and in part that's because Rafa stopped making some of those runs that he was making at the time. I mean, there's everything seems to be going wrong. What the hell's wrong with this club? Anyway, Immobile, John Wolf, speaking of Immobile, became a ghost on the field. I cannot even understand. Yeah, it was a really bad performance. We don't want to harp on it, though. And again, tune in to our analysis of the match. Khan's going to put it up after we're done here. If you really feel like reliving that for some reason. Alper, soft face award goes to Enschede. Bro looks just like a plush bear. I'm going to have to look that up. Enschede. Josef Enschede, if his face is more punchable than Casemiro. For me, Casemiro, no, come on. Enschede, yes, he does look like a teddy bear, but that's like, he's like too friendly. He looks like someone that you'd want to, I don't know, like buy him a coffee and like wish him a nice, like he looks sad. Casemiro looks like a petulant child with a very round punchable face. So it's different. It's a different vibe I'm getting from Casemiro. Sorry. Alper, we're not agreeing on anything today, even punchable faces. Nasser, how can a club like Beşiktaş achieve sustainability and consistency with constant leadership changes? This is such a good question, Nasser. Frequent presidential changes make it hard to implement long-term strategies. Kartal, how about you, man? Let's keep you on the mic here for a minute. Do you agree? I mean, do you feel like this system we have of changing our president as often as we do is sort of deleterious?
It's not good, and I think that's part of the reason why Hassan Arat went for like Immobile and Rafa Silva. I think because there was an election this summer and he wanted to win it. I think this term should be made 5 years. But I also think, unfortunately, our presidents don't have long-term plans this year. We're hoping that changes. Are we very hopeful that it changes? Not really. But we hope we can see some long-term planning, and the club needs it. And I do agree that this system, it does hamper long-term ideas because people want to see instant results, and the boards to stay in and keep the fan base on side want to get instant results, but a lot of the time the pursuit for these instant results ends up doing more harm than good, like what we saw this past summer.
Well, I don't think a presidential term necessarily needs to be that long. It can be 4, it can be 5, it can be 3. Ideally, I think 4 or 5 is better. But the most important thing is, I think, that it doesn't.
There's something to build on. You pass something on.
When there's an extraordinary election,
should reset the clock.
Then it should reset the clock, exactly. So then, as soon as they start, their term should start in full. So let's say it's 4 years, and let's say the election is held in the middle of the season. Then I think they should get 4.5 seasons. You know.
So sorry, Nasser. What needs to be explained here, though, on the technical side of things, since you're new? One, this wasn't supposed to happen. The election, it was as considered an extraordinary one, meaning there was like a crisis within the club. They decided, Hassan Arat, the previous president, was having health issues, whatever. So they called an election. It was kind of a snap election, as you see in some countries. And that's why we had this election happen in the middle of the season. Typically, it was supposed to happen 6 months from now. And again, to answer your question, presidents can stay longer. It just basically it depends on their success.
Have to get re-elected.
So if a president is if a president is deemed successful, they'll get reelected and they'll have a few terms. And so you can build something long term. The problem is that we've had a lot of failures in a row and a degree of short patience from the fan base to some extent, although I think that's more applicable with like coaches rather than the presidents themselves, because the presidents have been pretty terrible these last few rounds. Ahmet Nur Çebi was the president 2 presidents ago. He made some of the worst decisions we've seen in a long time, and then I think Nur Çebi up until the last window wasn't terrible.
No, he was.
Bad decisions. But I think it was that last window that was really bad. And
it's only hindsight that lets you say that, though, right?
Even before,
how bad it's been.
Even before Kartal, all the signings were agent signings.
I think even in like when Valérien Ismaël, for example, was their own coach, I think, right?
Yeah.
But do you think those signings were all agent signings?
Sorry?
Valérien Ismaël?
What?
Do you think when we signed Valérien Ismaël, they were all agent signings? That's all.
I don't remember who we signed, honestly, but the majority of players signed under Ahmet Nur Çebi were agents.
Fernandez.
Yeah, but what is Jetson Fernandez? Is that a scout transfer? That's not a scout transfer, is it?
It's not, man. But I think, in that summer, I think we actually were trying to make a plan.
Yeah, but then you put a really bad coach in front of that.
Yeah, obviously it was a bad move, but I don't think we actually had a bad summer. So
no,
that
we had a really good. Our transfers were done early for the first time in ever, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they went with a really bad coaching decision.
Yeah, I agree, man.
That's like putting Sam Allardyce at the helm of Manchester United.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. But I think it was the last summer that they went really wrong.
Oh yeah, last summer he just completely threw all regard out the window and just.
I think there was absolutely zero plan there. Just whoever the agents offered, they threw money at.
Yeah. Anything that they thought could save their asses because they knew they were going to be out. But it was a very bad presidency altogether, man. Like, not just that, but also like when we won the league title, like the things that happened, like when the players were celebrating, they grabbed the championship from the players and having his face plastered all over the poster and stuff like that. Just like you cannot say that was a good presidency. It was absolutely.
And let's not forget Rashid Ghazal being signed like the last second with the whole motorcycle fiasco.
They got lucky.
I mean,
they got
whatever.
lucky with Sergen.
Yeah,
they got
quite
lucky with Ghazal. They got lucky with a couple of signings, but it wasn't planned. It was all just dumb luck. Like, it was not there. They didn't deserve that. They didn't earn that. Like
I think Mosquera actually was a scout signing, by the way, Sheeran, from what I've read. I even saw somewhere that the last scout signing Beşiktaş has ever made was Rosier.
Okay then. Well, I guess that scout did not visit him at home and talk to his mom and dad.
Yeah.
He didn't see what color his outfits were on Instagram. There was yellow on that one. No, I'm just kidding. I know some people are still worked up about that. Continuing. Just add Finnish Kebab says, Nasser, just add an inch of patience, and in 1 or 2 years we'll see improvement, I believe. Let's hope so. But yeah, stick around, Nasser. Things will get better, and hopefully it'll be under Solskjaer. I don't see why it wouldn't. Grey Wolf says we made 10.7 million from UEFA. Yeah. Exactly, Grey Wolf, and you're the one who I was arguing with about how you were saying we don't need to make any transfers. This is why we do. This is why we need to be in Europe next year. So we need to try to make it into Europe next season, or we won't make those 10.7 next year.
And there's some people who are saying maybe it's better if we're not in Europe next season because then we can focus on the league. But I don't think Beşiktaş can afford to not have that 10 million because that is a big part. If we do not...
Yeah.
Our budget this last year was $97 million. That was our budget. And 50% of that 97 million went to the banks. 50% of that 97 million euros went to the banks. So next season, so you have to imagine roughly 45 million euros was our budget this year because of the banks. So next season, if you don't get European football, that's 10 million less, then you only have 35 million. Unless Serdar Adalı gets us out of the bank union agreement, then suddenly our budget goes up 20-30 million. But doesn't look like it. So
that would require him coming through on a promise, which
we were in the Conference League last season, right? I think we were in the Conference League last season. So
yes,
you know.
Then we have the sound issue. Then Nasser is back. How much potential does Mustafa Hekimoğlu have? Could he lead the attack in the future? I also like Topçu. He's got a good eye for line-breaking passes. I'll answer that. Mustafa Hekimoğlu has, I think he has potential, although it won't be realized in this manner. He needs to go somewhere and play regularly. He's not good enough to be our backup. That's been made evident through
you can't blame him.
He is quite young. He probably shouldn't
exactly.
be. Yeah, he doesn't have to be ready to be our backup.
Yeah.
But he
needs to play regularly. He needs to play against other grown men so that he can learn, that he can get more combative, that he can hone his skills so he can get polished. But he...
Yeah. And that's a great shout, though, too, Nasser. That's exactly right as far as Emirhan Topçu goes. That's exactly the skill that I think where he stands out. It's that ability to break, to intercept passes, and to kind of cut chances out. He's very active, hyperactive.
Wasn't he talking about breaking passes? So actually
line-breaking
passes. So
line-breaking
means building up,
Yeah. Oh, I thought he meant defending against passes. But yeah, that too. He's good on the ball. He's generally quite good.
Sure. Although yesterday he seemed a little bit...
and he's still young enough to improve.
Yeah,
Well, and that was
Emirhan, 24,
in a sense, you could probably view 24. And I think it's safe to say that was, in a weird way, the biggest match of Emirhan Topçu's life so far, right? Because that was his first real adventure in Europe with any club. And that was our biggest game of the season as far as, like, if we win, we're through. If we lose, we're out. Lots of pressure.
Athletic was definitely a bigger opponent.
That's true. Okay. Second. I just meant more. Yeah, okay. But like this stint right? This
Yeah,
season
of
is
course
his
for
first
him this is the
exposure
first.
to that kind of
you know,
pressure.
he got called up to Turkey for the first time, so he got his first couple of international caps. Now he's getting his first European matches under his belt, and he's of course a defender, so he's 23, 24 years old. He's still very young if he can stay spared from injuries, because we actually have another really good, or had I should say, another really good young Turkish defender, Tayyip Talha Sanuc, who is the same age as Emirhan, also, but right-footed. Emirhan is left-footed, and Tayyip Talha was actually, when we got him the first 6 months, I think we were all in love with him. He was
really
also a real threat on corners. He was a good offensive header. And then he tore his ACL against Fenerbahce, and he hasn't been the same since he got back. And it's a real shame, because I think if he wouldn't have had that injury, I think right now we would have the central pairing for the Turkish national team for the coming 5-6 years. Because they together, I think they would be amazing if Tayyip Talha wasn't ruined by injuries, and hopefully Emirhan can stay healthy and doesn't suffer the same fate.
Man, that just got me sad. I mean, there's a part of me that still kind of hopes for Tayyip to get it back together, because he hasn't seen sustained time since.
Keeps getting injured, man.
It's just he's like a shell of himself, and he's sort of a shell. I mean, look, his confidence levels, his like ability to go into a tackle fearlessly is kind of shaken. Nasser, probably with Semi, and while I see it as an issue, strikers are naturally selfish and goal-driven. However, with proper coaching, that can be improved, especially since he's still young. Yeah, and let's just move past that one quickly, but yes. And again, it's all up to Solskjaer. If he sees it in him and he wants to put in that work, I think
there's a difference between being
that.
selfish, seeing your teammates, but still going for glory yourself, and Semi is like a horse, like a police horse. They have these flaps to avoid them from getting startled and stuff in the streets, so that they don't have side vision. That's Semi on the pitch right now.
Yeah.
He only has that.
Like the horse, he's got the horse blinders. Yeah.
He doesn't see his teammates, and I think being selfish is one thing, but completely not seeing, even noticing your team. You can tell he doesn't know where his teammates are. He doesn't know when a teammate is if he's on the ball and a teammate is running into a better position. Semi has no eye for them whatsoever. He only has eye for goal. Like, as soon as he gets the ball, it's like, oh, there's the goal, I need to go there.
Yeah. Next comment. What the fuck? Okay. I'm going to try to stay measured on this one. Ufunfu says, Mr. Bayazit, European, man. Try a lot to sound American. What the fuck are you talking about? Is this the same guy who said that you were saying Adali like an American? Yeah, Ufunfu. I don't know what you want him to speak English poorly? You want him to have a thick accent and not have developed his English skills to the point where he sounds naturally like a native speaker? Like, or does he need a British accent maybe because he's from Europe? Like, I don't really understand where you're going with that.
I don't understand.
I don't understand why there's all this like negative shit about Khan sounding like he speaks like a native speaker. I feel like that's like the third or fourth time we've heard that. And frankly, like, that's a strength of Khan's. Like, we should all speak another language as even half as fluently as Khan speaks English. It's a goddamn like skill.
I think it was the same guy that left the comment last time as well.
Maybe he just hates America. Hey, Ufunfu, I am from America, so if you want to pick on an American, I'm right here for you, pal. Nasser.
I don't know, yeah.
What was it like under Suleiman Seba? I'm assuming it was a successful period since he led the club for 16 consecutive years. What do you think, Karta?
Yeah, of course, he's honorary president, the most successful president we've had. Won 3 back-to-back titles in the early 90s, including an undefeated league championship, the only undefeated league championship in Turkish football history. Hopefully, it will remain that way. Galatasaray hopefully won't remain unbeaten. Are currently on track to be unbeaten, but hopefully we can be the.
The refs are making sure of that at the moment.
Yeah, but yeah, obviously, Suleiman Seba is an iconic president for us. The best.
Sorry, Ufunfu. That was a compliment, guys. Apparently that was a compliment. I got all mad in defense of Khan for no reason. But yeah. Stop messing with Khan, people. Anyway,
No, I'm from Belgium, Wolfswinkel, but I grew up with English television.
X-Men
And
comic cartoons.
I learned it
X-Men.
from TV, and yeah, my friends always say I sound American, but Americans say I don't sound anything like an American, so I don't think I have a distinct accent at all. Like, if I was from Belgium, I could speak like this more, and then you could hear that I am from Belgium, but that is not how I speak. Although, honestly, I notice it myself a little bit more and more that I start sounding more like Flemglish, I like to call it. But I
When you get excited,
Yeah,
sometimes
maybe.
you get it. Or there's certain words you like
but you
roll
need to-
your
you need
R.
to keep in mind, I speak and I write. I'm a writer too, and I've been writing for more than 10 years for magazines, football magazines and stuff like that. And I speak English every day and I write English every day. I'm constantly engulfed in English. Like, English is like, it's my second language, like.
Can speaks better English and writes better English than most native English speakers.
My son,
Absolutely. No, yeah, and that's why I jumped to his defense too. 'cause,
Actually,
like,
the written part that's a fact, man. Like 90% of English speakers don't have as good written English as Candace. I don't have as good written English as Candace.
I mean, it's worth so. Again, I always jump to his defense on this because I mean I've heard I wasn't here the last time someone had brought this up and
it was a comment, I
he
think.
was sort of
Somebody
offended
left
by
a
that.
comment. I didn't really understand what they were saying. But my son is
Yeah.
even better at it because he was 3 years old and he was already speaking fluent English. And now he thinks in
There you go.
English. So his native tongue is Dutch,
There you go.
but he thinks in English. So when he says Dutch sentences, he literally translates them in his head from English to Dutch. So
Like the grammar
sometimes the
structure?
grammar and just the, like, expressions. He does like English expressions, but then translates them to Dutch. So if you don't know, you're like, what? And if you know, it's super funny because you're like, oh, there he is again with his English expressions.
There it
His
is.
native language is English. If that's the language that comes natural to him,
Yeah, I suppose.
it's English.
No, yeah, and look, I defend Con because I'm an English teacher too, so for me it's fucking impressive that someone who's not a native speaker can speak it as well as he does. But then also, like, obviously with like the Bülent Uslu, like, go home American thing. I mean, there is a degree of anti-Americanism in Turkey, which, to be frank, like, given geopolitics and my own politics, I understand a lot of the negative feelings people have towards, like, the U.S. writ large. But it's important to remember when you're critical of a country or your politics put you against, a country's full of individuals, right? And it's like Khan was saying about Israeli people before. Just like, regardless of how you view a country, we're all people trying to make our way in those countries, and not all of us are like pro imperialism or war or genocide or whatever it is that you want to view people's country as a whole. So yeah, I mean, whatever. The anti-American thing is one aspect, but Khan's English is I think just merits praise. So
Okay, enough
lay off,
about my
folks.
English now.
Yeah, and we're almost done. I spent time on that because we're finally towards the end of the comments, so we can shoot the shit a little bit here. But one more. So we Seba, and then Nasser. I personally think the team should be built around Jedson and Mucci. From what I've seen in the last 3 games, Jedson is a workhorse who fights for the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then he follows that question up, or that statement up rather, with the question: who would you guys get rid of in the squad, and who would you build the team around?
Not Jedson and
I would build around Rafa and Jetson. For me, Rafa is by far the best player we have. And way more consistent than Mucci. I know Mucci plays out of position, but I think Mucci has also shown that he can play with Rafa. And for me, Rafa is just, if we want to be competitive, I think with the other two, I think Rafa is somebody you build around. But you can bring in other players
For sure.
that can take over that role in the next year or two. But right now, I think you
sure.
build around Rafa and Jetson. I like Felix. I like Emirhan. I think Svensson is someone you keep because he's not expensive. He's a hard worker.
Maybe Al Musrati Khan, right? As you mentioned earlier, right? We're not going to probably get the 10 mil back, so maybe you.
I think if you can get good wingers and you can get a good striker that can carry that front line, I think that you can keep Musrati and be very competitive. But I think right now everything is looking the entire even like Felix and Emirhan and Svensson and Masuaku even to an extent. I mean Masuaku is not someone I'd keep, but I think everyone is right now. I feel like we are a snake without a head. Snakes are very like a python. We are very dangerous, but we don't have a head. It's because we don't have our front four is very ineffective. Rafa is good, Mucci on his day, but Rasicka is completely unreliable, and Chiro, he was good in the beginning of the season, but he had some injuries, and recently he has not really been good at all. And I think his age is catching up to him, unfortunately. And Simi can't fill the boots either. So we're missing a striker, and we are missing at least one really good winger, and probably two. I think we would look completely different if we had two good wingers and a striker. Or even just two good wingers. I think the team would look so much different. Because if you have options on the wings, people you can give the ball to and say, hey, here, keep this ball, do something with it, create some danger. Because
and then you're freeing up lanes for like Rafa Silva to come in the middle, right? Like you're improving
and you're also
everyone.
Giving options to for example, yesterday, the aimless long balls. Those long balls are only aimless because you don't have anyone to deliver them into. I've said it at the stop of the show, but like there were multiple occasions where we did send the long ball in the direction of Rasicka, and he gets either out-muscled or out-paced. If you have a Quaresma or a Rachid Ghazal type winger who you can hand the ball to and you can rest assured he's going to keep it and he's going to put the opponent on the back foot, that changes the dynamic of a team completely and the dynamic of a match completely. And that is why, after my interview with Danny Christensen, cheap plug for our Patreon again, patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast, that interview is up right now. My interview with Danny Christensen, local reporter on Viborg, Serginho sounds to me like the exact type of player we need. And I think that is a player you need to, if you're going to spend money this winter, I think you spend it on him or someone like him, because he is the exact profile we need. That is no guarantee that he will succeed, but he is what we need. He is the type of player what we need. A playmaker that is really good on the ball, that loves to go one-on-one, that loves to dribble past one or two players constantly, that can play good crosses into the box, that can put in good true balls into the box and into players, that is always looking to assist. This is a player that is looking to assist before he looks to score. That is what we need. That is like Rachid Ghazal in his prime, or even Quaresma.
Yeah. And in line with the sort of transfer talk, Grey Wolf says we made 10.7 million, so it can be spent on Ridvan and Cengiz, haha, or it's all going to the interest on the loans. And then he he says, if they're going to do panic transfer just to get someone in, then I'd rather them wait till the summer window. We do need transfers now, especially a winger, but not a panic transfer. And to that we agree, Grey Wolf. We never really should need a panic transfer, right? Like that's never the conditions that are right for buying anyone, because then you're definitely opening yourself up to mistakes.
Yeah, and guys, our Patreon is only $1.99. That is super, super cheap. You can't even get a cup of coffee for that in most countries. It's $1.99 per month. Like, that's literally one cup of coffee for you every month. Go to our Patreon, become a Black Eagle VIP member. You can gain access to that interview I did on Serginho, but also our weekly VIP podcast and a lot of other extra content. Trust me, there's lots and lots of stuff on there all the time. And even if you're not sure, you can always just try. There's a 7-day free trial, and if you don't think it's worth your cup of coffee, you can cancel, and no money will be taken out of your account. but give it a try.
It's like half a cup of coffee if you're getting good stuff. Anyway, where were we? Nasser, who would you guys build around? We said that. I forgot to mention he said that his answer was Jedson and Mucci. I think I did. I said that actually. All right, and next, Nasser says, just wanted to say thanks again, guys. I really appreciate the streams. I know I've dropped a lot of comments and questions, so I'm grateful for you taking the time to respond. We love it, man. Keep it coming. It's greatly appreciated. And I think it's probably even nice for our own fans to hear a newcomer kind of learn about some of these things that we're also passionate about. So yeah, no, don't at all worry about it. And we appreciate it. Like, please keep it coming. Jason says Khan's English is better than Wayne Rooney's and Harry Kane's. Yeah, that's. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but it's true. Oh yes, right. He says I also have the problem of translating English idioms into German. Alper says, Sinan, what do Americans that follow the NBA think about Şengün? Alper in Şengün, they love him, and frankly, he's bringing positive attention to Turkey as a whole. Everyone is just giving him his flowers at the moment. He's made the All-Star, his first, just the other day, which is fantastic. I think he's even a starter in the All-Star game, which is wild. Yeah. Oh, is he reserve? So then they just announced him last night, then, right? For some reason, I thought he'd been announced, in the previous crop. But yeah, I mean, he's very highly appreciated. Americans love him very much, and he's turned around the fortunes of the Houston Rockets almost single-handedly, you could say. And maybe that's a little simplistic, but I mean, he's been a huge part of it, and they were garbage before he got there, so that's worth noting. Finnish kebab. If you can't understand Khan, then clear your ears. Indeed. Mustafa Gedik, were you guys all born in foreign countries? To which the answer is yes. I was born here in New York City, Khan in Belgium, in Cartal over in the UK, in Scotland. Yeah, Beşiktaş International, man. That's what it's all about. And finally, he asks, as we don't have any goals left, we can wait for the summer transfer window. We will have more opportunities. Mustafa, you must have just gotten here because we've been arguing this point all episode. No, we must make transfers. No, we really can't sit idly by. We need to bring in the creative pieces that are required for us to compete for third place and the Turkish Cup. And we need that so that we can get into Europe, so that we can make, as Finnish Kebab said, the 10.7 million euros that we did this year. Otherwise, that's a lot of trouble for us, honestly. We need to maintain that pressure on a European spot. Khan's got the Alper and Şengün info up there. And yeah, I mean, it's a huge deal to get an All-Star game. And it's like, is it third season, Karta?
It's year 4, that says, man.
4. I mean, still, that's fucking impressive. There aren't a lot of, you'll see he's one of not many young guys in the All-Star game, so it's a big deal. And yes, as Finnish Kebab says, Mustafa, there is the Turkish Cup still, which you must not forget. And that's it. We finally made it through the comments, fellas. We're rounding it. This is our 4th hour on air. But we finally made it.
Okay, that's...
Anything else to say,
fantastic.
folks?
Thank you all, guys, for all the comments and all the interactions today. You made a little bit of a downer of an episode. Still very enjoyable, I think, for all of us.
Group therapy. Group therapy.
Hashtag group therapy. Maybe we should start using that.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, fantastic. No. Well, guys, I mean, 11 days left in the transfer window. Our first match now is on Tuesday at 8:30 local time against Kirklarelispor in the Turkish Cup. No Super League game this weekend. So we get a little bit of a breather. And fortunately, because both Al Musrati and Rafa Silva will be suspended for the next Super League game. So let's hope that we can bring in new players that will be ready to start that next Super League game against Sivasspor, if I'm not mistaken. And then Tuesday, Kirklarelispor. Hopefully that is a team we can beat with the team we have. They're second or third division. So we should be able to beat them, and we'll be playing them at home. But actually, that match is going to be played at the Olympiad Stadium. So 76,000 tickets, and tickets are just 20 and 10 lira. So if you're in Istanbul, if you live in Turkey, or you live in Turkey, not in Istanbul, whatever, guys, please consider going. Support the team. 20 lira, 10 lira for a ticket. I know it's a trek to get to the Olympiad Stadium, but the players need it right now.
It's in the boonies, right?
Maybe you'll be able to see a new player in action by then. Fingers crossed. I hope my 4K camera is picking that up, that's not flipping you off. I'm crossing my fingers.
That's funny.
But yeah, thank you all for joining us for a group therapy session today. And yeah, go and check out our Patreon if you want to support us other than liking, commenting, and subscribing. And please, I implore you, always try to leave that thumbs up, and always try to, even after this episode finishes, go and leave a comment. It really helps us with the algorithm. If you're watching on delay, go and leave a comment. And go and check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Beşiktaş You can support us, just $1.99 a month. It's super, super cheap, like a cup of coffee, and you get so much extra content, especially now in the transfer period and in the summer. You're gonna get so much extra content. You're also gonna get early access to content. Like I said, I did an entire 34-minute interview with Danny Christensen yesterday about Serginho, one of our transfer targets. And really, guys, I think you're gonna like what you hear. So you can go and check that out on Patreon, or you can just wait until either Serginho comes to Beşiktaş, or otherwise Wednesday I will publish it on YouTube. But yeah, go and check that out.
Throw up your eagle emojis like the vigilante Turk just did. In the words of Finnish Kebab, get that goddamn Serginho! I like that. Anyway, yeah. As always, like, follow, subscribe. Check out the Patreon. Tons of content all the time. Well, you gotta watch out for that Schwarting report coming soon, probably. And of course, as always, and this is really important that I mentioned it. Let's go Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody! Give me those Patreon supporters. Here we are. We got Oscar and Zerzavachi. What's going on, big dog? Attiljan, the Bull Malak of Chicago. Paul O'Connor. Nathan, Mr. Baseball David. The Finnish Kebab, who, as he said, get that goddamn Serginho. Tristan Cray. Dara, the Irishman. Henry, and of course, Mario 1 and the 2 and the 3 Vargas. Happy Margaret Thatcher Day. Niall Tariq. Seba, the not foreign director, Heinat, one and only Dutch Eagle. Peace out, everybody! See you soon! The infamous, indefatigable, indomitable Dutch Eagle. I didn't know that was in demand. I'll keep using it. Peace out, everyone. See you next time.